morning. Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started. Good morning, all you beautiful people. Happy New Year. I'm so glad you guys could join us today. What a powerful way to start the new year. I'm Denise Wilson, your Vice President at Lawyers Title, and my team and I are here, and we are just honored to be your partner. And when you are out there thinking, how can I grow my business? Make sure you have the right business partner. Get with your bestie at Lawyers Title, because it is what we do every single day, is to understand what's going to help you in your business and then actually help you execute it. It is our passion to help you achieve the goals for your preferred future. So thank you so much for being here. So today we have an awesome agenda. And I want to just say a couple housekeeping things. Number one, you're going to see a phone number on the back of the board there and one in the front. These are to text your questions that you have that we will at the end answer for you. If your question gets answered along the way, we'll go ahead and skip that for time's sake. But please find the text phone number here, 503-708-5835. And we are going to have that monitored for you. So today we are so excited to have Connor Webb and Michael Hudson with us with Praise Media. So a few months ago, Steve and his team had met them, and they are these very impressive gentlemen when it comes to social media. They are experts, YouTube, content building, and beyond. And I will tell you, Steve is so fired up about them that he hired them personally for his team, as well as consulting with Premier Property Group as a whole. And what's really cool about that is that speaks volumes, because as if the branding isn't already impressive enough that you do every single day, to want to be so passionate about these gentlemen to be here to share with you for your businesses, it's very exciting. So I am, Michael, so thrilled to meet you and so excited to learn today. And Connor, we're so thrilled to have you. So I'm going to have you two gentlemen get started. When they are complete, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break. We're going to mic up Steve, and then we're going to take your business to the next level, baby.
Sweet. Love it. All right. Thank you for that introduction.
Hello.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Here.
So to start things out, yeah, just a quick reminder, if you have any questions on anything that we cover, feel free to shoot a text to that. We'll have a Q&A at the very end. Let's start with a show of hands. How many of you watched Netflix last night? How about this last weekend? Okay, pretty much everybody this last week. Yeah, everyone? Okay, how many of you watched YouTube last night? Okay, how many of you watched YouTube this morning even? Okay. How many of you have watched YouTube on the big screen TV in your living room in the past week or so, or if you watch it at all? Okay, a lot of people. So a surprising stat that came out last year is actually last May, is that YouTube actually accounts for 9.7% of all of the viewership on the TV in your living room. Netflix is 7.6%, which is second. So that shows that it's not just people that are, on their phones or on their computers that are watching YouTube. They're in their living rooms watching on the big screen TV. They're watching your content. And so throughout this presentation, we want to drive home the fact that you need to be utilizing YouTube for your marketing. And we want to kind of show exactly why that is. We have a series of classes that we teach. This is going to be the Video Marketing 101 class. We also have a 201 and a 301. This is going to be the fundamentals. We're going to get into why you should be utilizing video, some content planning and equipment, and then we're going to help you create a green screen short at the very end. So a bit of my background of myself. I grew up in Vancouver, Washington. I went over to Washington State University, double major in finance and marketing, and got into mortgage lending right out of college. So I've been doing that for 8 years now. I actually ended up starting my YouTube channel, sports media brand, all that back in December 2021. It's called The Couch GM. So I'm very passionate about baseball, the Mariners, and I just started making content. Mariners fans out there? Okay.
Let's go.
Any Washington State University alum or fans? Okay, a couple. We got some. And so I just started creating content that I wanted to watch myself. And by doing that, I haven't gotten burnt out with it because I'm making stuff that I want to watch myself and that I'm interested in. I'm not trying to make something for the views. The views became a side product. And now I've integrated my mortgage business and my sports media brand and company to help grow my mortgage production. So now I put mortgage ads in my sports videos, and it's like, hey, reach out to the couch GM to hit a home run with your mortgage financing needs, right? So we'll get more into it, but it's about finding, what makes you different, sticking to that, being yourself, and that'll help your business. And especially you start creating content on YouTube, that's going to rub off. So 3 years into it, 2025, I just passed 11,000 subscribers. I'm over 3 million views total on YouTube alone. And it's opened some pretty big doors. Anyone know who Jamie Moyer is? He's a Mariners Hall of Famer. And so I've had him on the podcast multiple times, various current former players. I'm media credential with Major League Baseball. All this stuff that I had no idea would be a side product of just starting creating content. I just had WCU's quarterback on yesterday on the podcast, some of the Mariners' top prospects. It's opened a ton of doors. This is my YouTube channel. And this is the past 90 days. This is my biggest thing. So there's been 30,000 plus returning viewers in the past 90 days to my channel. There's been 152,000 unique viewers to the channel. And so there's 30,000 people that are continually seeing my stuff. So the more I put my mortgage ad into that video, the more people I'm going to be able to market to. Additionally, I started a mortgage channel. So this is largely creating content that's answering frequently asked questions that my clients have to help shorten the sales cycle and educate people. And it has turned into mortgage business. So this was a scenario to where he was a subscriber to my channel for a year, lived in Florida at the time. He reached out, he saw an ad, and I helped him, do a refinance and then also purchase a home in Olympia. So this stuff works.
All right. So my name is Michael, owner of Praise Media. And so I've been doing this since 2017. And so basically grew up in Everett, Washington, up north. Wife and I moved down here about a year and a half ago and just love it in Vancouver. Or actually, we live in, I was thinking we're in Vancouver, but we're in Oregon. But yeah, been living in Vancouver the past year and a half. And, the biggest thing with us, the reason why I decided to start Praise Media is because we truly believe that everybody has a unique voice. So everybody in this room has a unique voice that someone is waiting to hear. And so we use social media to help you achieve that. And so we help you to amplify your reach, and we also help you to just make those connections with those people through social media content. So, we've been doing it since June of 2022. We've achieved over 3 million views for all of our clients across YouTube and Instagram, especially, and generate hundreds of millions of dollars of deals. A lot of our clients stem from real estate, so developers, wholesalers, realtors, the list goes on and on. I did go to UW, but we didn't let that be a barrier between us partnering up. But yeah, Connor's been a godsend and a blessing, and we've been teaming up down here to really help a lot of the real estate businesses improve their social media game. You can go with that. So one of the biggest reasons why people hire us with Praise Media is that we do three things. One, we save you a lot of time, because if you're doing the whole content creation process by yourself, you're spending anywhere between 40 to 50 hours a week. It's like another full-time job, coming up with ideas, scripting it, editing it, filming yourself, and then posting it on social media platforms. Another reason is that we get results. As Connor will go more into detail, a lot of our clients, once they start working with us, especially a lot of these people are starting from scratch, whether from it's a YouTube channel or Instagram, and we're getting really good results from them. Not only are we increasing their views, but they're also getting organic lead generation. So they're getting people that, because they see their videos, they're like, hey, I want to sell my house, or hey, I have a deal for you to look at, things of that nature.
So this is really exciting because this is our first client that went all in, hired us to create all of their content from start to finish, not just the coaching, but we're going out, we're helping them film. Our team is editing the entire thing from start to finish. We're helping deploy the content on YouTube and across other platforms. So I'm personally building out the thumbnails, the titles, the description, the SEO, all that stuff. And they started 4 months ago. And this is the past 3 months of results here. They've gotten over just shy of 25,000 views, 780 watch hours of their content. That's how much time people are spending watching their stuff. They're at 437 subscribers right now. This is super exciting because it's one thing to talk about it, but when we can actually help people do it and they're seeing the results, it's big time. Exactly. And this right here is an example of why this stuff works. This is after about 3 months of creating content for them on YouTube. Word started to spread around the city. This is up in Vancouver, actually. And there's not a ton of people that are utilizing YouTube in the way that we recommend it and creating the quality of content that Praised Media can help our clients create. And so this is actually a new built house. They're out of state, out of the country, I believe even. And before moving into their house, they wanted to put it on the market and see if they could get more out of it than what they built it for. They saw their YouTube channel, reached out directly to them. They already had it listed with someone else, but they were like, hey, can you maybe help us bring a buyer to this property? If you come, I'll open the doors for you guys and you guys can make a video and help showcase the property. So we helped them create the video. In the first 3 days, this video, completely organic, was over 1,200 views, 29 watch hours of these guys walking through a house, kind of showcasing this property. Like, what kind of value does that bring to that listing agent, to that seller, to someone that might be interested in a property or looking to list soon? If you could secure one listing from this, like, how many years of content would that pay for?
And to add on to that, a way to look at it is like, I know I'm sure there's a lot of agents in here. You guys are buying Zillow leads. You guys are doing cold calling, door knocking or whatever. But with one video, you're able to replicate yourself. So that's the way to look at it. It's like every video is like planting a seed. And then once that seed blossoms, or I don't know the exact term, but yeah, once it sprouts, you're basically going to be getting a ton of opportunities.
And it's a compound effect. The more you stay
Exactly.
consistent with it,
Yeah.
the more your views are going to compound.
Exactly. So why video? So how many people in here actually are like filming, doing themselves, or they're working with like a team or something like that?
Couple.
Okay. All right. It's about right. That's about right. It's about what, 200 people in here. So there's probably about 10 people. Okay. So, some of the main reasons is that it's going to really help with brand awareness. So people are going to know who you are. Video, there's a study out there that shows that 74% of people are going to do business, whether they buy your product or service, through people that they know, like, and trust. And so video is really going to help expedite that process. So the more times they're going to see you on film, talking about your product, showing bits and pieces about your life, the more relatability they're going to develop with you as they continue on in the selling process.
And what I would add also is, it's pre-selling the service. So if you can make one video for your YouTube channel, if you're just starting out, create a first-time home buyer video, walking through the process from start to finish. Or if you're looking to focus on listings, create a listing presentation or what you bring to the table so that you could send that to a prospect. They watch your content. They then see your other YouTube content on your channel. They binge all of your content. They get to know, like, and trust you. By the time you actually meet them in person, they already decided that they want to work with you. They're sold. They feel like they're meeting a celebrity even. It's pretty weird what happens. Like, when people start to watch you on video, it just compounds and really helps.
Oh,
And so it's not the number of content, it's about the watch hour and how quickly you can get to the 37 minutes of someone watching your content. When the stats are that when someone passes 37 minutes of watching your content, it's like another level of a relationship or of a follower. Yeah. And so it's about how are you going to get to that? Is it going to be 37 or more, short form clips that they're watching? Or is it going to be one long form podcast to where they sit down and watch you talking with someone else, with an industry expert for 37 minutes, and then they build that relationship? So thinking of, how you can get to that 37 minutes. And has anyone read this book, Brand It Like Serhant? Does anyone know who Ryan Serhant is? Have you watched his series on Netflix yet? Yeah, probably. Highly recommend this book. Definitely get this on Audible if you can. He reads it himself. The biggest takeaway that I had from this book, it's talking about how to build your personal brand. It's about finding your and. Like, you're a realtor and what? I'm a mortgage lender and I'm super into sports and the Mariners and the Cougs and stuff. So my content there's a couple ways you can do it. One is to like sprinkle it into your content. So if you're making a listing video and you're big into cooking, make the listing video, showcase the kitchen, make a meal there. You know, it's playing to what your and is, what your interests are. If it's myself doing a listing video, I'm going to play catch in the backyard with a football or something like that. Showcase it while being yourself. So find your and. You can either create content specific to that, or you can just kind of sprinkle it in, and you're going to find the people that you want to work with. You're going to find a sports fan that is interested in the same stuff that you are, or that likes to cook, and they're already sold. And so this is part of my mortgage ad that I put in my sports videos. So this is ChatGPT, by the way. You could have it create images for yourself of create a 1920 by 1080 image of a Cougar fan standing outside a house with holding keys. So I'm talking about and pitching myself in the video, and then it's, you know, kind of showcasing and adding to it. So definitely utilize your and.
Yeah, so, you know, when it comes to social media content, so today, you know, our mission is to give you kind of a blueprint that you guys can use to either utilize yourself if you're starting out, or you can use it with your team or whoever you're working with. So there's two types of content. So there's going to be search engine based content. So it's going to, you'll hear the term like search based a lot. So what that means is that, say, for example, you know, I'm sure everybody knows what Google is. You go into Google, you go, oh, what are the best restaurants in Lake Oswego? So all the restaurants pop up, right? So that's search-based content. And with Google being the #1 search engine in the world and YouTube being the #2 search engine in the world, that type of content is extremely powerful. And as far as content goes, I would say that needs to be like 80 to 85% of your content, because that's going to help you be found on YouTube and Google. And then that type of content is going to live forever. Meaning, say that you shoot a video and you post it today, 5 years from now, it can still be relevant, and you can still be getting views on that. Also, we have the social media, I like to call it like trending content. So something that's more so like trending events. So we have the Super Bowl coming up next month, for example. We have the election that just passed by. That's a current event that just happened.
And what I would add is that social media is a lot about brand awareness, staying top of mind. So you want to utilize both of these, but the social media is more so like someone's scrolling, they see your face again, they see your face again. So it's brand awareness versus the YouTube content is really deepening that relationship and building a relationship. And like I said, how are you going to get to that 37 minutes? Realistically, if you are creating YouTube content that's 5 to 10, 15 minutes long, or you do the long form podcast, you're going to get to that 37 minutes much quicker with YouTube compared to the social media. And you have 3 seconds to catch someone's attention on social media before they're scrolling to the next video. So if they're watching your YouTube video, they're probably committed to sitting there and watching what you have to say.
Cool. So we're going to go into planning and equipment right now. So, you know, when it comes to equipment, simple the better. So, I mean, all of us, basically everybody has like an iPhone and Android in this room, right? Like as far as a smartphone, you can use that because it shoots 4K. But there is, if you do have a little bit something in the budget, we've been using something called the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. So what this is, it's what's great about it is that it has like a built-in gimbal where it keeps the footage really smooth. And then also it has a screen where you can shoot in vertical or horizontal. So horizontal YouTube, vertical, shorts. I mean, it's just extremely easy to use. So we'll give you a link on that, and that you can purchase it on Amazon. But very, very important to have something like that. And then also a tripod that holds your camera or phone. And then audio is very important too. So one of the ones I recommend are like any wireless mic, because you don't have to worry about like tripping over cords and stuff like that. So there's plenty of options out there to connect it to your phone or any camera that you have. And also lighting. I'm a huge fan of using like natural light. So say that you're shooting like a listing video or in a house with like large windows, I would always stand in front of the window. But if you're in a situation where you're just like, you know, there's no natural light or whatever, using something like an LED light or a softbox light is always going to be best for you. And so you can go ahead and screenshot this. It's like a gear guide, or you can visit this link. It's a gear guide that we put together. So we've tried and tested like hundreds of filming equipment, from cameras, audio, things of that nature. And we compiled a live doc of all the items that you can take a look. And if it matches your budget, you can definitely make it a purchase. And then we're always updating it. So you can feel free to save that document, and then we're always constantly updating.
And if you have questions on kind of what you need, depending on what type of content you're looking to make, we'll recommend different items. So ask us if you have any questions.
For sure.
So now getting into what types of content to be creating, there's a difference. There's basically two pillars. There's evergreen content and there's trending content. There is overlap to where you can have trending evergreen content, but evergreen content, like it sounds, it's long-term, it's deep connecting. Someone might be able to watch an evergreen content video 5 years from now and it's still relevant. Like if you take the time to make one quality first-time homebuyer video right now, you could be utilizing that to close deals 5 years from now. At the same time, you're emailing that or sending that to any first-time homebuyer lead, someone that's typing in on Google or on YouTube or anywhere else, how to buy a home, first-time homebuyer, down payment, that type of stuff. They might be able to find that video across platforms. Trending content, it's definitely short-term and wide-reaching. It's kind of like widening the net. So if you make a video that's talking about they just dropped interest rates, someone's probably going to watch that today, maybe this week, this month, but then a couple months from now, it's not really relevant anymore. So you want to utilize both to where you're jumping on those trends to widen that net and get more exposure and more views right now in the short term. But then you want to create the content that's evergreen, that's going to last longer and really be, the bang for the buck and worth the energy. So here are some examples of evergreen content in real estate. Like I've already described about the first-time homebuyer video, the listing video. Yeah, you could screenshot this if you'd like. The educational stuff. So the home buying process, how to get pre-approved, commercial loans. You can do day in the life videos of being a realtor. How many of you have watched a day in the life video of someone in a different field just because that's an interesting thing to learn about? Well, people are curious what it's like to be a realtor, how to list a property, what that process is like. Client testimonials are great. You could have a full, playlist on your YouTube channel, which is your clients talking and talking you up. Also, being the neighborhood guide is a big one, to where you're showcasing certain areas that you want to highlight. If you make one video about Lake Oswego, you can make a bunch of videos about Lake Oswego, put it in a playlist, and really become that expert.
Yeah, and to add on to what Connor was saying, I would say this is the most overlooked type of content right now, is client testimonials, because people want to see your wins. There's people that I talk to all the time that are kind of like, they're a little shy because they're like, oh, I feel like I'm bragging or whatever. No, you want to be shouting from the rooftops of everything you've accomplished, especially with your business. And so interviewing, there's plenty of different ways to do it, but you can get, your best clients in front of the camera, ask them what their process was like. You can do like case studies. There's so many unique ways to do it, but this is definitely something that's not done enough in every niche, not just real estate.
If you're not going to promote yourself, who will?
Exactly.
And then here's some examples of trending content in real estate if you want to take a screenshot of that. So anything that's year specific, that's going to be a trending topic. Anything 2025 in the title, you're trying to get people to click on it right now because this is the home buying process for 2025. Any housing trends or market updates, like I mentioned, if they drop interest rates, make a video on that right now. That's trending. And then, you could be asking various business owners throughout the community what's going on currently in their business and what's going on. This is an election joke, but you could have some fun with it with trending content. Like if you don't like the signs in your neighbor's yards, use me as your realtor to sell a house and move it to another neighborhood type thing. So just have fun with it, but jump on trends and try to get people that are interested in topics right now. And then digging deeper. So once you have the evergreen content and the trending content, then there's going to be long form and short form. So the long form content is going to be horizontal, over a minute long. That's going to be the stuff that will be a majority of your YouTube videos. There's YouTube, and then there's YouTube Shorts. And so the short form is going to be vertical. It's going to fill up your phone. If you're scrolling on TikTok, Instagram, that's going to be short form content. Short form realistically will be 3 minutes or less now. The shorter, the better in most cases. So you definitely want to be utilizing both of those as well. And then short form content is really like Costco. You're walking through the aisles, you're getting samples of a product. If you were to go buy that product and it's something completely different, you're probably not going to be happy. You're not going to buy that product again. So your short form content needs to be a reflection of what your long form is going to be. Like I wouldn't post a straight up mortgage video on my sports channel because that's just not what people are there for and expecting. So keep those separate, but it's basically a piece of your long form. And then some short form tips, like I mentioned, 1 to 3 minutes is going to be ideal. You want to have it be hard hitting info only, no ums or uhs, all that stuff. You edit that out. Take out any pauses or gaps. You want to fill the screen. Like I mentioned earlier, you have 3 seconds to catch someone's attention before they're on to the next thing. So that first 3 seconds, you got to hook someone, and then you provide value and try to keep them as long as possible. And what type of content should you be creating, shorts on? You could repurpose long form content, and you want to be doing all of these, but focus on creating the long form quality content, and then you can repurpose that into a short to where you could take the meat from that long form video and post it across shorts. Because then if someone likes what they're seeing on the short form on Instagram, they're going to click the link in the bio, which will take them to your YouTube channel. The end goal is to get people to watch your YouTube videos. And we're going to get into the green screen video in a bit. Those are super quick and easy. You could be making content on trending topics very easily.
Cool. So I'm pretty sure like earlier I was asking who does their own content and things like that, and the majority have not even started yet. So here's some questions you can ask yourself as you start and make the leap into video content. Is the first question and the most important question, in my opinion, is who am I talking to? So that is the biggest struggle that a lot of content creators face, especially business owners and people who are trying to build their personal brand. Is who exactly are you trying to attract? Who's your ideal viewer? So the best way to do it if you're stuck is to think about going into the shoes of the absolute beginner in your niche. So think about the type of obstacles they would face, the pain that they face of not getting what they want. What's the desired outcome or their dream result of getting the type of guidance from you as a realtor or a real estate professional? So, there's a lot of content creators that just post random videos. It's not intentional. And those are the ones that struggle and give up the soonest because they have no clear direction. So the more clear you are on this one, I guarantee that's what's going to keep you going, and you'll be able to have a clear direction of the type of video content you're going to post. The second question is, why do I want to do this? So is it to get leads? Is it to become famous? Is it to build your community? There's no right or wrong answer, but the more powerful the answer to this question is, the more likely you're going to be able to push through like the days that you're like, oh man, do I have to shoot? Or, oh man, I don't see any views. I just want to give up. That's what's going to push you through those tough days. And then also these kind of work hand in hand. Is like, what type of content do you want to film and how are you going to package that content? So I always encourage beginners to experiment different content styles. So are you going to do like a skit? So you've probably seen some of those shorts where it's like someone plays 2 people and they kind of like talk back and forth. So that's an example of a skit. Talking head videos, like my content I do, or even Connor's, we do a lot of like talking head videos, like more educational stuff. Also there's like behind the scenes content. So shooting at like vlog style, like showcasing your day or your week. So there's so many different types of ways of doing video content styles. And then also, this is kind of like a suggested filming plan, so you can take a screenshot of this as well. We really believe in these 2 platforms because we feel that when it comes to conversion, like these platforms are the best. So we have the best of both worlds essentially. Is like the evergreen content and then the more trending content. And so I'm not going to go through every bullet point, but I'm just going to highlight these 2 things here. Is that these are the most underappreciated parts of nurturing your audience. So responding to comments. So whether it be like on your videos or answering direct messages, especially on Instagram. So you're leaving so much money on the table when those are going unanswered. So very, very important when someone leaves a comment or shoots you a DM that you respond to them. And to take it one step further on direct messages, send them a quick video. Any new followers that come your way, just be like, hey, Bob, thanks so much for the follow. Really do appreciate it. If you have any questions, let me know. And you'll be surprised like how like shocked they'll be like, oh dude, like you're real? Like you sent me a video? Like it's pretty cool process. And then also dedicating like 15 to 20 minutes a day consuming content to learn like the styles that are out there, and also commenting on other profiles as well. That's really gonna give you favor to like the algorithm for both of these platforms moving forward. So just being able to converse with other profiles as well.
What I would add to the YouTube comments, like for example, I comment on an MLB video, so that video might have 100,000 views. I share my thoughts in the comment section. It'll actually show your subscriber count on your comment. So if you're commenting on Ryan Serhant's video about something and you're pretty early on, people are going to see that you have the YouTube channel. They might check you out, might subscribe. So definitely comment. And then Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then with Instagram, like 3 to 4 reels per week is ideal. 5 to 7 stories per day, and so stick to one a week for YouTube, and then just be staying consistent. Ideally, 1 a day for Instagram, but if you get 3 to 4, then great. And then as far as structuring your videos for YouTube, so this is more of the strategy of, okay, you decided what type of content you're going to be making. How exactly should you structure your video? So there's 3 metrics that are very big with YouTube, and I could get much deeper into this, but there's the CTR, which is the click-through rate. The click-through rate is the percentage of people that see your thumbnail and title when they're scrolling, on YouTube, and they actually click your video. So that's your click-through rate. Once they click on the video, the 30-second retention is going to be important. So no introductions, no, hey, I'm so-and-so. It's just get straight into information, get straight into the hook, show people why they should stay for the full video. And then once you get beyond 30 seconds, once you get to a minute, 2 minutes, then you can do your introduction. Hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is the channel that I have if you want to subscribe. And then it's about average view duration. So getting people to watch for as long as possible. And that just comes by having quality content. So you're trying to get people to click, to stay past 30 seconds, and then ideally watch for as long as possible. So that essentially means, there's the hook, you're going to have the intro, there's the body of the video, and then there's the call to action at some point. And the best video that you can make is one that you will post. You're never going to be perfect. No one's going to like what they look like on camera or what they sound like all the time. You just have to get it to a point to where you're okay with posting it. Post it, be consistent, don't care what people think if it's anything negative, and just stay consistent. Who wants to make a short or learn how to make it short at least? Pull out your phone if you'd like to, and open up the Instagram app. I'm just going to show you how to. You don't actually have to make one right now, but just knowing how to do this is very powerful. So go into Instagram, go to your profile, and then go to create. You might not have pressed that button in a while. Go to create and hit reel. And then on the left side of the screen, there's going to be a camera button. You'll hit camera. You'll then hit effects on the left side of the screen. Once you're in the effects, you're going to search for the green screen. Is everyone tracking so far? Maybe. So Instagram. Yeah, so the create button is in the top right. It's the plus. Yeah. So you hit plus in the top right. You go to reel. Then the camera on the top left. And then you go to effects on the left side of the screen. And then you look for the green screen. You hit green screen, and then you can choose a photo from your camera roll that you want to put in the background.
Yeah, it could be like an article or something.
So this is super easy. It takes 5-10 minutes. If they drop rates tomorrow, you take a screenshot of that news article, you throw it in the background of a green screen video. You're talking about what's going on right here. You could also screen record a video of that article. So you're scrolling down it. People are seeing information, they're reading it, they're going to watch it multiple times. You're talking about it, you're providing value, it's trending topics. And then once you have that, you could save it to your camera roll. And what I do is I add captions to all of my shorts, which is a separate app that I use. But if you could add captions, people can be sitting there in class, with no volume, watching your video because they're seeing what you're saying via the captions. Anyone have any questions on that, on the green screen? Okay.
Can't wait to see them.
And so Michael and I were via PPG, we're offering some group coaching now. So if you want access to group coaching, we're asking for a 3-month minimum sprint. This is more so for your commitment to not just doing it for a month. Like, let's commit to 3 months, really go get after it and see how far you can get in those 3 months. If you want to continue, then we're happy to, but we want to help motivate you. So the first month, we'll actually go through a full social media audit and YouTube audit, as well as a coaching call with us. And then from then on, we'll have monthly coaching calls with all of our group clients. So we'll all discuss together what's working, what's not working, what type of content we're creating, and we'll help answer any questions that you might have that you've had over the past month. And so that's $200 a month. And then if you want anything else, we do additional services. Like I mentioned, we're a full service. We could create the content from start to finish for you. This is the QR code to reach out if you'd like to. Any questions? And did anyone text the number?
Yeah, it's any questions there?
Do we know if there was any text? Yes. What's the difference between a reel and a story? That's a good question. So a story is going to live on your profile. It's on your profile, you know, the icon. It'll live for 24 hours. A reel is an actual post. So it's going to be in your profile forever. And so it'll show on your profile as a reel versus a story is just there for 24 hours. So a post might be a photo versus a reel is a video. Yeah, and a reel has to be less than 1 minute and 30 seconds versus if you want a video that's longer than 1 minute and 30 seconds, then you just do a post instead of a reel. And there's like a different reel algorithm. So, yeah. Any other questions? Okay, sweet.
Now it's on. Okay, Susan Victor Reed at PPG asked, LinkedIn is all business, no nonsense. What are your thoughts regarding marketing there? Posting value content and videos.
For LinkedIn, yeah, LinkedIn's a great tool. Like what Suzanne said, it's more like business related. So if you're looking to build your team, I would definitely look at doing LinkedIn, just because like the recruiting options on there are pretty powerful. And then also, if you're like an investor mainly as well, like if that's part of your business, that's very powerful too in sharing your deals. I have someone that I work up in Seattle where she was looking for funding for one of her commercial properties that's worth like $3 million. And she was able to raise money within like 48 hours, just based on like a post on LinkedIn, because you have like a lot of banks on there, a lot of other investors as well. So I like LinkedIn for sure.
If you know who Gary Vee is, he's a big marketing guru.
Yeah.
He says that LinkedIn is the most underutilized social media platform. And so if you aren't posting to LinkedIn, start doing that. And if it's, you know, a blend of your personal with the real estate, post that to LinkedIn. You'll see interaction there. There's no sense in not posting it there.
Yeah.
The only reason why you might not be is like a limiting belief that you have about LinkedIn.
Awesome. Did you use ChatGPT to generate the image or another AI service?
Only ChatGPT. And then once it creates the image, you could say, I like that, but change X, Y, or Z. So you could refine the photo and it'll just keep creating it. ChatGPT is the biggest resource. If you're paying for a service, I would pay for ChatGPT. It's like $25 a month for their most recent version. And for brainstorming, it's massive.
Oh, yeah.
For example, for all of my YouTube videos, and what you could do is YouTube will auto create a transcript of every word that is said in your video. You select all, you drag that into ChatGPT, and then you say, for this YouTube video, create a title, give me 10 titles with a high click-through rate for a YouTube video with the following transcript. You could then have it build a description, give you tags, all these different things, and literally in 2 seconds, it has it for you. And it just helps with the brainstorming process. I wouldn't copy and paste the description. You can use that as like a starting point and then refine it so it doesn't sound like a computer.
Frank also asked, can't you just shoot it all horizontal and then crop it for Instagram?
That's repurposing content. Yep.
You definitely can. I mean, there's pros and cons, because like when you just have to make sure when you're shooting these horizontals that it's far enough because when you cut it into vertical, more times than not, you have to crop it and push it in. So you don't want your face to be like huge on the phone. So it's kind of like an aesthetic thing, but yeah, just keep that in mind when you shoot.
Unless you have a really pretty face.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, to answer Frank's question, yeah, you could definitely shoot everything horizontal.
So like not you guys. You guys cannot shoot at that. I'm just
No.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Definitely not.
You recommend 40 minutes a day consuming content and responding. Do you recommend consolidating content creation to a few moments and having that content ready to schedule or post? Or do you recommend a more constant approach, i.e. daily creation of content?
So,
Ooh, do you want me to read it again?
yeah. Oh, all at once or throughout the day.
And then also, should you basically meal plan
Like
for your
batching
content? Yeah,
content?
yeah.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm huge on batching content. Yeah. With our clients, we shoot like 12 to 15 shorts at a time, one long form. So I would highly suggest that because that's going to be the most like efficient. And then, yeah, yes, you can definitely be intentional on planning out which videos you're going to release.
Yeah, because you could sit down in front of a camera and just chat GPT, give me 30 questions that a first-time home buyer in real estate might have. And then you could just take the time to answer those 15, 30 questions, whatever, and then chop them up. And then you post one every other day. You have shorts for a month about the home buying process.
Exactly.
Love it. And Sean, that was your question. Did that answer it? Okay, awesome. What are your thoughts on folks that don't use TikTok currently, but are concerned about starting there and having it banned by the government?
Well, we're
No
probably
pressure.
gonna have two different opinions. I'm not the biggest fan of TikTok. That's just my personal bias on it. And yes, for the most part, it will be banned. I mean, anything could change from now to the 20th, but we'll see what happens. But for me, I just don't, as far as like converting, unless you have like a TikTok shop, if it's like an e-commerce, definitely use TikTok. We have a couple of clients that use the TikTok shop. But if it's like a service-based business, personally, I would not focus on TikTok.
TikTok's algorithm is pretty wild. So like, let's say it doesn't get banned, then I would recommend why not post there unless you're, sensitive about the information and all that stuff. It's a way to get a ton of views quickly. If you make a solid video, you'd be surprised at how many views you can get in a short amount of time. And that's ultimately my goal, is to try to get more eyeballs on. So I'm going to post the same thing everywhere. And if it blows up on one platform, then great. But do everything.
Do you offer a service where I can send you batches of videos and content that you can edit and produce into various effective forms of content for me to schedule out consistent posting with?
We do, yes. Yes, we can, we can throw up the QR code or send the link through there, but
Screenshot that. These
yeah.
guys are awesome.
So let's see, screenshot this, and yeah, we could definitely.
And then this one came from a Mr. Jeff Wyron. What do you call a nosy pepper? Come on, guys. It's for all the business in the room.
Oh,
Yeah.
let me chat GPT real quick.
Yeah, right.
All up in your
There you go.
business.
Nice.
There we go.
I think that was
Understood.
all the questions.
And excuse me,
Okay.
you had one question?
Oh,
Sorry about who?
Yeah, it is an application with RML ads that they create.
Oh, like an AI website
like
that
a-
auto edits stuff?
They took the videos from and they post it.
oh.
That's a website?
Oh, it's probably like a scheduler sort of. It's like an AI.
Oh, like an online scheduler?
Scheduler.
Yeah. But then you,
But they
put it in your own content.
right.
Yeah, I mean, if it shortens the process for you and it helps streamline stuff, then, utilize whatever works best for you to help you post, for sure.
Didn't hear about.
I haven't heard of the website, no.
Yeah, I haven't heard
Yeah.
of that specific one, but we've heard of websites that are similar to that.
Yeah. Do we use Repurpose IO?
I've heard of that. We use something similar to that called Opus Clip. So it's kind of the same thing where you could take a long form piece of content and chop it into shorts for you. And then you could basically download it, put captions on it. And not Opus Clip, I believe only sends it to Instagram and YouTube. But I'm not sure what Repurpose goes everywhere. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of like the third-party schedulers because I've seen studies that it like suppresses views and engagement a little bit. I'm a big believer in just doing manual posting, but again, if it's like time is of the essence and it makes more efficiency, then yeah, by all means.
I personally copy my caption and then just manually post across every platform. It'll take 10 minutes once I have a video ready, and then I just do it everywhere. Thank you for having us.
Cool.
Let's get started. We don't want to miss 1 minute of this. Now, I know Steve needs no introduction, but I will just say personally that I have been so blessed to be his business partner and friend since 1942. And I have watched him, you know, I was your business partner when he was a top performing lender, and then he went into real estate. So I got to watch the 12 years of his empire growth. Let's call it what it is. He built an empire, right? What a blessing, right? By absolutely creating systems that and finding talent for his team at the highest level. And everything in between is done very methodically in everything he does. And that, my friends, there is a system for. And I am so thrilled that he is going to share the past 12 years with you, that wherever you are in your business, you can take your business to the next level. So Steve, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for being the best partner and certainly friend. Thanks for being here and doing this for us today.
You're welcome. Hey, thank you, Denise Wilson, and all of our friends at Lawyers Title. We appreciate your support with this event. I want to thank Michael and Connor for coming here. As she mentioned before, I first saw them a few months ago at a similar event like this, an education summit up in Washington. I was so impressed with what they had to share that I immediately hired them, almost immediately, as a consultant. And they advised us on some equipment to buy, which was the equipment he shared with you today. And it's recording me right now as we speak. And we're creating video content. Some of you who are here probably saw a video on social media that invited you to this event. And that is, you know, under their guidance and some of their direction. So great people to know and to learn from. I am thrilled that you are all here. By the way, we have over 150 people watching on Zoom, in addition to probably almost that many people here in this room. So this is an awesome event. You guys have voted with your most precious commodity, your time, and I do not take that lightly. So I assure you that I've spent a lot of time preparing for this and plan to give you a lot of good takeaways. Not one, not two, dozens and dozens. The subject matter, as you all know, is taking your business to the next level. Every real estate business out there has a level above it, myself included, everyone out there, all of you in this room, okay? For some of you, many of you, you want to go one level up, okay? And an easy way to think of the level is, hey, we just closed out a year, 2024, right? We all did some, as much as we hate to quantify it, but you kind of have to, right? We all did some level of production for the year of 2024. This is about doing more, okay? Now, for some of you, that might be, maybe you've been at the same level for a couple years. For some of you, maybe we've been in a challenging market, maybe your level's down a little bit. You want to go back to where you were. Others of you, Adriana, this is where I get to pick on you, are rock stars. You have started in the last few years, and I think Adriana's the case. She's at PPG, and maybe she started a few years ago, and I think she's pushing close to 20 million in a matter of just a few short years. This is absolutely for you, because we are going to talk to you about you've already been doing it, and I'm going to give you some pointers to continue that trajectory. Brittany Gibbs, I told you that I was going to pick on you as well. This is kind of like a reverse roast where I say nice things about you, give you all my real estate secrets, and then make you take a sandwich when you're leaving. So, but Brittany Gibbs, I appreciate you being here. You're one of my favorite realtors in the business. You've been on my podcast 3 different times as a regular as a regular guest. Brittany's doing almost $100 million a year. Okay, this is absolutely for you. We're going to talk about you. There's plenty of you in the. We're going to not talk about you, but we're going to talk to your level as well today, a little bit later in the presentation. Plenty in the room. In fact, I just met a gentleman who just started 8 months ago. I'm talking to you and everybody in between. Ty Lanke, good friend of mine, good golf buddy. We talk shop a lot, walking the fairways of 12th and Country Club as he takes my money, betting on golf. Talking to you as well, doing somewhere around 40 million, I think, here in the last couple of years. So here's what I want to share with you is I've done this presentation twice before. This is the 3rd and final time. This has quickly become one of my favorite presentations of all times. And you see the reasons there, and I'm going to go through each of those reasons. I'll say them quickly, and then I'm going to come back and expound on each, okay? I realize that I'm uniquely qualified to speak on this matter. I appreciate that this material applies to any and all agents at every level of production, all of you in the room. And this presentation, last but not least, has been a fun journey down memory lane for me. In fact, you can see my little baby picture. I look like I'd be carted just walking into a gas station with that photo. That was my first headshot after I got my real estate license back in May of 2012. This is the first house I ever sold, 460 Boca Raton in Lake Oswego. It closed. I listed it shortly after I got my license in May of 2012. It closed in July of 2012. I remember everything, incidentally, about that house. You could ask me questions about a transaction I closed 3 weeks ago, and I probably don't remember a whole lot of it. We always remember the first house, right? And I think everybody in the room agrees with that. So let's talk about why I feel like I'm uniquely qualified. Let's talk some figures. In the year that we just closed out, 2024, my team and I closed about $150 million. Okay, that's our best year ever. We had our 2 best months ever that year. In April, we closed 20 million. In November, we closed 18 million. Okay, we all acknowledge it was a challenging year. Okay, that actually puts me solidly as the #2 agent in the state of Oregon. Okay, but that's not the only reason why I feel like I'm uniquely qualified. The other reason that I feel like I'm uniquely qualified, there are many other great agents doing a lot of business. I did start just 12 short years ago. Okay, I remember when I was like that gentleman who I just met and who started 8 months ago. I remember being at that level like yesterday. In fact, for the purposes of this presentation, I wanted to find a news headline that I could throw out to you guys just to kind of share with you how relatively recent this was, okay? Sorry if this is morbid, but the Boston Marathon bombing, right? I remember sitting in an office as a brand new agent when that horrible incident happened and that whole chase all over Boston for those 2 individuals. And I think they ultimately found them in a boat in the backyard of somebody's house. That same memory that helps me remember that incident is going to get shared with you about my journey for the last 12 years today, every step of the way. I also appreciate that this material applies to everyone in the room. I kind of touched on this already. From brand new to Brittany Gibbs and beyond, I'm going to, at some point today, speak at your level. I'm going to remember when I was at your level and what I was doing to do more business and go to that next level. And then, of course, this presentation has been a fun journey down memory lane. I literally, in preparation for this presentation, sat at my computer with a Word document open, and I thought to myself, okay, summer of 2012, what was I doing? How was I getting business? How was I getting leads? What were the systems and tools I was developing? Then I did the same thing for the next year and the next year and the next year. And I was remembering who was joining my team. What was I needing? What were the challenges I was facing? What were the opportunities I was facing? Here are the levels we are going to discuss. okay? There's 5 of them. 0 to 6 million, 6 to 10 million, 10 to 20 million, and then 20 to 50 million and 50 million and above, okay? At our company, we actually have an award ceremony. It's coming up here in about 6 weeks, where we recognize several of these levels. So it kind of naturally made sense, being that they're production levels that are very familiar within our company. This one we call the Circle of Excellence. This one we call the President's Circle, and then above 20 million we call the Platinum Circle. I was going to say one other thing about Adriana, in addition to how wonderful she's doing, and this is important. She had reached out to me a couple months ago, and she said, "Hey, Steve, can I get an hour of your time? I just want to pick your brain about how you run your business, how you've developed your business." And I asked her, I said, "Adriana, I've done that, taking your business to the next level 2 other times. Have you been able to come to either of those?" And she sheepishly said, "No, I had it on my calendar both times, but I wasn't able to make it. Work happens. An emergency happened with my business and I had to cancel and go do that." And I said, "You've got to come January 7th. There is no more methodical, better way, more concise and organized to understand what I did from 0 to where I am today." And so she's here, and I want to thank you for that. At each of these levels, we are going to talk about, when you're at that level, what you should be focused on right then, what you should be getting help with at this stage of your career, and then some other considerations. The analogy I like to use in this regards is a 10-speed bicycle. Okay, it's been many years since I rode a 10-speed bicycle, but I have ridden a 10-speed bicycle. And as we all remember, you're pedaling, your legs are going faster, the bike's going faster. And then all of a sudden there comes this point where you can't pedal your legs any faster. But then this magical thing happens. You click that gear shift, the chain sprocket moves, and all of a sudden your legs are going slowly, but you're going the same speed. And now you can start going faster. We are going to talk about, at every one of these levels, how you can do that within your business. From my experience, sadly, a lot of agents I meet and have met over the years seem like they're on BMX bikes with 1 speed, okay? And so I want to help you develop some of those tricks, tips, and strategies that I've used over the years to do better in that regards. Okay, let's get started. Without further ado, I want to talk about the first level. From my lens, this is when I was brand new in the business. Now, this does not necessarily mean everyone at this level is brand new in the business, but that was my experience. So some of what I say might be skewed a little bit that way, but a lot of what I say is still going to be relevant to regardless how long you've been in the business. At every level, we are going to talk about what you should be focusing on, and the upcoming slides is going to go one by one through those, okay? At every level, we are also going to have this pie chart, okay? This pie chart is not something I've ever seen before. It's something I created myself as I was preparing this presentation many months ago, by the way, for the first time. I wanted to come up with a visual that explains how your focus has to change to shift those gears from one level to the next, okay? And how you have to delegate tasks. Let's all agree, when you're doing 0 to 6 million, you are by yourself. With few exceptions that I'm aware of, you are a solo agent. Oftentimes, you do not have any administrative assistance or help on your team. By the way, I also want to mention quickly, we are recording this, and anyone that wants to reach out to me, steve@nassarteam.com, my email address is everywhere on my website as well. You can Google me. We're happy to share the recording with you, and we're happy to share the PowerPoint. I've already had some requests for that. So I see some of you feverishly taking notes. I'm not dissuading you from that, but just want you to be aware of that, okay? As a newer agent, and every real estate business needs to cover all of these categories, okay? As a newer agent, by yourself, you have to do them all, okay? And pretty equally, because they're all equally important. So let's go through this pie chart, and every level, this pie chart's going to start shifting as you go into higher levels and you start shifting gears. The first category we're going to talk about is buyer lead generation. Buyer lead generation simply is anything and everything you do to get buyers to work with you, to get a buyer to work with you. This could be open houses, this could be calls, emails, texts, prospecting, you name it, you are generating buyer leads, okay? The second they say, "Hi, Steve, I will work with you," and in this day and age, we all know this, that means a buyer representation agreement. That wasn't always the case, but it's a pretty official process now. So there's a pretty hard line where you stop buyer lead generating and you start doing buyer agent activities. Buyer agent activities is everything you do from that point forward. And that would be showing houses, that would be negotiating offers, that would be inspections, all the way through to closing, with one exception: paperwork. I purposefully broke out paperwork because it is a separate entity that can be delegated uniquely, okay? Listing lead generation, same thing. Anything you do, anything and everything you do to get a seller to work with you, okay? Think any type of prospecting. Again, like buyers, there's an official line in the sand where they say, "Okay, Steve, I will work with you." And what do? Listing contract. Listing contract gets signed. Now you are in listing agent activities, okay? Listing agent activities is everything you do from that point all the way through closing. That would be prepping the house to go on the market. That would be ordering marketing and photos. That would be taking it live, loading the MLS. That would be scheduling showings, negotiating offers. Everything with the exception of paperwork. Again, I broke that out into its own separate category. The last two categories are where you work on your business, okay? Business planning and development and marketing, okay? And I'm going to talk about those real quick here in a second. These are all working in the business. You are a cog in your machine. We all are. We all have to be, right? We're a service business. So we have to deliver a service. And so a good chunk of the time we are doing that, especially early on. But it's very important to step back and work on your business. And so I broke that out into two categories. Business planning and development is anything you do to work on your business. This would be creating systems. This would be creating templates. This would be business planning. Anything you do where you're not working with one person, you're working on the entire business that's trying to attract all the people that you'll be getting, okay? With one exception, marketing, okay? Marketing is anything you do to get people to work with you from a marketing standpoint. I want to be really clear here. If you are loading photos into RMLS for a listing, that's not what I'm talking about here. That's here. That's a listing agent activity. You're working with one specific person. Marketing here is working on your website, working on your brand, working on your marketing collateral that you give out to all your prospects to work with you, okay? There's the pie chart. Let's move on and start talking about these categories one by one. Lead generation. By the way, there's a lot of times today where I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to read, okay? I'm not doing that because I'm incapable of speaking. In fact, for 10 years this year, I've done a 90-minute podcast with no notes. My co-host and good friend, Joe Festolo, who I think is watching on Zoom, can attest to that. I'm reading because if I didn't do that, this would be a 4-hour presentation, and none of us want that, okay? So it speeds me up. I've efficiently and concisely written down some notes to keep this moving forward quickly, okay? So bear with me. Try various methods of gaining business and hone in on the few that work for you and your style. Open houses, door knocking, calling sphere, social media. There's a fine line between dabbling too much and not allowing something to work and not realizing that you need to take an idea behind the barn and shoot it. That's a Mr. Wonderful quote from Shark Tank, Kevin O'Leary. I've seen agents who are constantly jumping around. They try this. Before it can get traction, they're jumping to another idea. Then they're jumping to another idea. That on one extreme is highly problematic. The other problem is having a pet idea that you don't realize is not working, okay? Near misses or inquiries are a big part of this, okay? Something doesn't have to necessarily close for you to realize it can work, okay? I want to give you guys a quick story here. So a few years back, I was watching an HBO special. It had some of the funniest comedians of our day on it. It had Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, and about 3 or 4 others. And they were literally sitting in a circle, and they were just kind of spitballing about how they do their business, how they perfect their craft, what their routine, how they perfect their routines. And we as the audience were kind of just a fly on the wall for this. I was really intrigued. First of all, I realized they're very systematized, which I'm a systems guy, and I was looking at these guys at the highest level of their game in a completely different field and realized systems are important in most fields, right? But what they said is they'd start in a small market, they'd have their presentation as they thought would be funny, and then they would test it out. They would put a joke out there. If the audience roared with laughter, they know, okay, that one's ready. Well, I'll take that on with me. If the audience maybe didn't land quite right, they know they either need to rework it or maybe get rid of it. Maybe take it behind the barn and shoot it, right? And it also reminded me, and I'm gonna reference that a little bit today because it's a systems thing. But in regards to lead generation, we should actively be doing the same thing as we are prospecting. We should be paying attention to what's working. If it's working, great. If it needs to be reworked, let's rework it and try if we really believe in it, or maybe just take it behind the barn and shoot it. I'm going to give you 2 examples of this in my business, okay? 2 very extreme examples, okay? The first one happened when I was a brand new agent. It was April or May of 2012, okay? I was door knocking, okay? And let me tell you a little bit of how I did this. There was an agent in my office who had listings, and he allowed me to hold one open. And so I would go and I'd create this flyer, and I put a lot of effort into that. I've always cared about my marketing. On the front of the flyer was information about the house, pictures, and then it advertised the open house. On the back, it talked about if you're thinking about selling, here's what all the things I will do to list your house when I list your house. And then I would go canvass the area around the house, and I knew it. Let me say this. I never successfully closed a transaction from this, but I knew it worked. And here's how I knew it worked, because I had some really good near misses. I remember one of them specifically was an individual, it was actually in Lake Oswego. He came out, we ended up talking for 15, 20 minutes. Very friendly individual. He told me his kids are on the one of his kids is on the East Coast. They just had a grandkid, and they really are thinking about selling their house and moving closer. Okay, we had a great conversation, 15, 20 minutes, where I said, oh, I'm sure those kids are just like magnets, pulling you away. He gave me his phone number, his email. And obviously I had his address. I'm right there at his house. We stayed in touch for many, many months, maybe even a year longer. He ultimately wasn't ready to sell just yet. And we did drift apart, but I realized there's something here. I'm standing belly to belly with somebody who obviously owns a house because I'm at the door, and he needs to sell. And he's talking to me and he's giving me his information. So I logged that as this is something that works. Let me give you the opposite example, okay? Roll the clock forward about 5 years. I want to say this is in 2017 or 18. I've successfully listed a house that's in escrow, also happened to be in Lake Oswego, coincidentally. And he was an attorney. Actually, he was a divorce attorney. And he, as we're getting ready to close, he tells me, he goes, hey, Steve, I've got a business partner with this idea that I think you're going to want to hear. And I go, okay, let's hear it. We met for coffee just down, remember when there was a Starbucks just a few buildings down here? We met there. And his business partner gave me this pitch that sounded fantastic. It still sounds pretty darn good. He said, oh, what I'm doing is I'm taking people who are filing for divorce, I'm taking their names, I'm cross-referencing them through Facebook, and then I'm helping realtors like you create advertising that you pay for and put in their feed, with the general idea being a lot of people going through divorce need to sell. I said, sounds good. Let's try it out. So of course there was a big ramp up process. We had to create some marketing collateral. I had to hire him as a consultant because he was going to do all the legwork. It was his idea, obviously, and he knew the methodology to get those names through Facebook and cross-reference them. I had to pay for Facebook ads, of course, which is expensive. And so the cost ramped up from like $2,000 to $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, and it kind of capped around there. 4 months later, I called him up and I said, Adam, I got to stop this campaign. I haven't had one inquiry, not one. Even if somebody called me and said, I already got a realtor, but I have a quick question, anything, it would have given me some hope. Near misses matter. Pay attention to them. Let's move on. Database creation. Create your database. Start yesterday. Make your wedding invite list. If you were getting married today, and here's the key word, with no budget, who would you invite? That's your sphere. Get their names, compile their names, their addresses, their emails, their phone numbers, and start contacting them. Consistent emails to your database are relatively inexpensive. I, for 6 years now, have been using a very successful newsletter program called Home Actions. I've actually, in the last year, worked closely with PPG to incorporate it on a company level so that all the agents can utilize this. We're creating curated content, local real estate, housing content, everything from the latest color trends, things to plant in your backyard, and obviously also MLS data, housing trends, market information. And we send that out. I actually, and you'll see it on a future screen, I have 6,700 people in my distribution list. I could never call 6,700 people in a month, let alone maybe even a year. But I can send a monthly newsletter to them. And relatively, we've done the math, it's about a penny a person. Direct mail is also really powerful. I love direct mail. The reason I love direct mail is people, they really can't opt out of direct mail. Okay. The only way they can opt out is if they reach out to you, which rarely happens from my experience. They have to email you or call you and say, hey, can you remove me from your list? The post office has no opt-out. There's no way to jump online and opt out of direct mail. The sad reality I've experienced is oftentimes I will close a very successful transaction with someone and they had a wonderful experience, but unfortunately they'll, I'm not saying this happens all the time, but once in a while, they'll opt out of my newsletter. They'll opt out of all my email marketing. I know that the direct mail is still going to them. So every month we have campaigns that we send out via direct mail, mostly postcards. Even better, the combination of the two is very powerful. If they're getting the digital marketing, the email marketing, which they can reply to immediately, as well as the postcards, which are tangible, they can sit on their kitchen counter for a few days, powerful stuff. Mastering interviews. Get good at interviewing. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. Many, many years ago, in a prior life, over 20 years ago, maybe 24 years ago, I was a blue-collar worker. Many of you, only a few of you in this room, I think there's 2 actually in this room that knew me back then. I actually did welding and steel fabrication, believe it or not. And most of your heads are going to spin and go, how the heck did you do that? I still wonder how I did it too. For that reason though, I wasn't the best. I wasn't the most experienced at that, but I did work hard. But here's my point and where I'm going with this. There was a time after having been on a job for about 3 or 4 years, there was a round of layoffs. I was not one of the lucky ones. And I found myself looking for work, okay? I created a great resume. Again, I think that's some of my early marketing days. And I sent it out. Back then this is in the maybe late 90s, early 2000s. We still had the Oregonian want ads, if you recall that. And I sent it out to several companies that were looking to hire. And I got interviews. And out of 4 of the 5 interviews, I got a job offer. Now, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was good at interviewing. It wasn't because I was the best at that position or the most experienced. I looked people in the eyes. I smiled. I was likable. I dressed appropriately, and I got job offers. later, I realized as I got into real estate, that it served me well in this business. Every day in this job is a job interview. Every day in this job is a job interview. I have an agent on my team. Her name's Dana Emery. She worked for me for about 4 or 5 years. She's since retired a few years back. At one point, she told me, she said one of her friends suddenly started asking her questions and wanted to get into real estate. And the friend said, what's it like to be in real estate? And Dana said to her, she said, when was the last time you had a job interview? And the person said, well, I've been on my job 5 years. I guess it was right before then. Dana said, did you like that process? She said, not necessarily. I was happy to get a job. She goes, that is what every day for the rest of your life will be like in this business. Even if you aren't interesting, even if you aren't that interesting, get really good at being interesting for a few hours. It's part of the job. Connect, build rapport and trust. Find common ground. These people are going to spend the next 90 plus days of their life with you. Think about it, the average transaction we do. It's at least 90 days. I have seller clients that have known me for a year plus, okay? And I think a lot of us have as well. So it's at least 90 days. Let me give you an example of this. Oftentimes when I'm doing a listing appointment, I'm doing the grand tour up front of their house. And we're walking around and I'm obviously commenting on features I like, flattering them on the house, but I'm also pointing out some challenges and how I think we could overcome those. One thing I'm always looking for is that thing I can find common ground on. One of my favorite things is when I'm in the garage, checking out the garage, looking at the furnace and water heater, and I see a set of golf clubs. And I immediately, as an avid golfer, I hone in on that really quick. Where do you play? I've played all the public courses around here, so I usually can start speaking to where it is, and most of the privates as well. I tell them about my experience. I'll ask them, do you keep a handicap? And we'll connect there. And oftentimes when and that's one example. There's other examples, and I'll give you a couple others. But usually the tour of the home stops for about 5 minutes as we start talking on that subject, okay? Other times, if I don't see golf clubs, I'm looking for a Portland Trailblazers poster or jersey, or an Oregon Ducks jersey, where in this day and age, we'll probably lament how it's been the worst 7 days of our lives. Be likable, be well-spoken, confident, look people in the eyes, be funny and fun, yet professional. Have a set presentation and routine that continuously improves. Sound familiar? Let me give you a quick example. And I'm not claiming with this joke that I'm Jerry Seinfeld or Chris Rock, okay? But it is lighthearted, and it gives you a flavor of what you should be doing at your appointments. Oftentimes when I'm doing the grand tour of someone's house, and we're in the primary suite, and it's this big primary suite, and you open the big double doors, and there's this massive bathroom and this huge walk-in closet the size of a small apartment. And the husband or wife are right there, and they're showing me around, and they're really proud of everything they're sharing with me. I'll look to them both, and I'll go, this is really big. Where does he keep his stuff? And you get a little, it's about lightening the mood, showing them that you're fun to be around, connecting with them. Everything starts with likability. Likability will initially get you further than trust, thereby giving you time to build trust, okay? It's not to say that either is more important than the other. They're both important. But if someone trusts you, but they don't like you, you're probably going to hit a brick road, a brick wall. Somebody likes you, but they're not sure if they can trust you. They'll continue to keep getting to know you to see if they can trust you. Smile more. You guys see that quote there? Success does not make you happy. Happiness makes you successful. I love that quote. Focus more on the needs of the client than on your own. Show gratitude for people in their business. Enjoy your appointments. Have fun, but be genuine. You are in the entertainment industry, whether you like it or not. When you increase your likability, everything else will take care of itself. Ask smart questions. One thing that I appreciate, if you go into a listing appointment and you're just a machine gun of facts and data, you come across as a know-it-all. If you go in and you're asking probing beneath the surface smart questions, they know you know your stuff, but you also come across as humble, and humility, and more likable. Read lots of business and sales and self-improvement books. They will teach you how to write and speak. Beyond everything else they'll teach you, you'll see those words threaded together, and you'll speak better and you'll write better. When I first started in sales, and the first guy that ever hired me is in the second row right here. He actually works for me now, so it's kind of a circle of life story. But he hired me at Harley Davidson here over at Washington Square right after 9/11. I want to say in 2002. My first job in sales. I devoured sales books. At that time, it was Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, the Little Red Book of Sales. I read them all. And even though I did find out quickly that I had a natural ability at sales, I still wanted as much information as I could find. Wisdom isn't knowing everything. It is consuming quality content and filtering what is the good stuff to store away and keep. Nobody is born intelligent. Okay, let's move on. Knowing the software platforms. Learning and mastering all of the systems needed to conduct real estate. Zip forms, RMLS, DocuSign, DigiSign, SkySlope, a CRM. At our company, we provide all of our agents with KV Core. Whatever CRM you're using, master it. I remember when I was brand new in real estate, this is May of 2012. I immediately knew I needed to learn RMLS. I didn't even know how to spell RMLS. And so I signed up, and don't ask me why it was there, but I signed up for some classes up in Vancouver at the RMLS office there. Back then, the main office was by the airport. It wasn't here close to us where we are today. I think I signed up there because that was the closest classes I could get to. I went there 3 different times. I got in my car 3 different times and went there for a couple-hour class each time. One was on listing load, one was on CMAs, one was on working with buyers and prospect profile. There was a group, it was a workshop. I left there and I knew how RMLS. I knew I needed to know that. I was going to be handcuffed if I didn't know my system, my software systems. Systemize your business. Learn and master transaction flow and communication needed to ensure excellent service. The systems you build now will help you scale and grow later as you hand them off to others. Efficiency. Get efficient with travel. One of my earliest realizations in this business is that every real estate agent wastes the biggest inefficiency that we all contend with is time wasted in a car. Denise mentioned earlier that I was in the lending business before. I was in an office all the time. I could do all sorts of stuff. Once I got into real estate, there's office time, but there's a lot of going to people's houses, showing houses, going to listings. I realized, I mean, let's be real here. If my office is three buildings down here at 5,000 Meadows, if I have an appointment in Hillsborough or Happy Valley or heck, Wilsonville, at most times of the day with the traffic you have going there, it can easily be a 2-hour process by the time you shut your computer, go out to your car, get in your car, drive the half hour there. And I'm not talking about a showing or something. I'm talking about delivering a lockbox. I'm talking about delivering flyers. I'm talking about meeting somebody to pick up or drop off radon. Then you do that little short, quick task. Then you get back in your car and drive for another half hour. Then you get back to your office or home. You try to pick up where you were, which is a whole nother conversation about having lost some momentum of what you were doing but prior. Again, that can easily be a 2-hour process. Now imagine doing that 10 times a week. That's 20 hours. That's half of a work week in your car doing that. I realized really quickly that I needed to learn how to travel the least possible. Find ways to travel to a home the least possible, whether a listing or a buyer. For example, put a contractor box on a listing right away, especially if it's vacant. But even if it's not, obviously you have to get permission from the seller. They're already expecting to have a lockbox on their house. I can't remember the last time a seller said no. Higher end ones, maybe, okay? But I'm talking average price points here. That way, when you do need one of those things to happen, when you do need someone to, if you need a carpet cleaner to go do a bid, or you need a contractor to go in, access, you call your seller and go, hey, I've got a great person coming. They're going to show up at 2 o'clock today. Is it okay if I give them the code? You just made a 3-minute phone call that saved you 2 hours. Get efficient with travel. Every time you have to drive somewhere, ask yourself, was there a way to bundle this trip with something else? This is probably not revolutionary now, but at the time, when I first got in the business, I was dumbfounded on some of my first listings, including that one that I shared with you. I would see buyer's agents set up their inspection on Monday, have radon dropped off on Tuesday, do a sewer scope on Wednesday. They were driving to that house constantly. I made it a point. If my normal guy couldn't do it at the time I needed, I found another guy to go there so that I just had to show up once to that house, meet all those people, and I'll do all those at the same time. Here's another thing that I use till this day. Make your phone calls on your drives, okay? If today at 4 o'clock, one of my clients, maybe a seller client, reaches out to me, he goes, hey, Steve, do you have some time? I have a couple quick questions for you tomorrow. When's a good time to chat? The first thing I'm going to do is look at my calendar for tomorrow. And if I have a 10 a.m. appointment in Happy Valley, I'm replying and say, can we chat at 9:30? That way, I'm on the phone with him or her on my drive. And I will even argue that I give him better service because I'm more relaxed. I have more time. In fact, this frequently happens. They'll jump on the phone. They go, Steve, I know you're busy. You're a busy guy, but I just have a couple quick questions. I go, hey, we're good. I've got a 30-minute drive. Take your time. Okay, let's move on. 0 to 6 million. What you should get help with. Get more leads. Systems aren't as important. They're important, but they're not as important yet. They're going to get more important as we get busier. You have all the time in the world to make transactions go smoothly. Agents at this point in their careers and production level should focus on generating leads that are relatively inexpensive, but perhaps more time consuming. Think open houses, think door knocking, right? Those are virtually free. They take time, but they're virtually free. Since at this juncture, you have more time than money, it's likely best that you don't pay for leads yet at this stage in your career. And then other considerations. Sorry, that was other considerations. What you should be getting help with. Contract TC support. Day one of being a brand new realtor, you should not get contract TC support. Does anyone know why? You need to know how to do it. You will be in a bad place when no one's available and you don't know how to write an addendum, an offer, or a counteroffer. You need to learn initially how to do it. But as soon as you start rolling, and remember, this is 0 to 6 million, so maybe it's around 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 million, get contract transaction coordination support. Get internal marketing support. At our company, we have a marketing platform where any agent with a few clicks of a button can create the best marketing presentation out there. The print pieces, the single property website, all the photos ordered. It's highly efficient so that you can focus on getting more business while someone else is doing those remedial tasks. Okay, let's move on. We are now at $6 to $10 million, okay? Every time we get to the slide, I'm going to talk about the pie chart and how it's shifted a little bit, okay? The first thing you're going to notice is paperwork's getting smaller because you're getting help with your paperwork. At this point, you don't have a full-time person on your team. You probably shouldn't, but you are using a contract TC, transaction coordinator, to help you with your paperwork. By not having that on your plate, other slices of the pie can get bigger. Buyer lead generation is the biggest slice at this juncture. Most newer people, and I'm not saying this is new here, but most people start working with buyers. And there's a simple reason for that. When you meet with a buyer, it's harder for them to understand how many buyers you've worked with or currently have. Most sellers can see, they know how to go to a Zillow or other places to see exactly how many listings you have. So it's a little harder to get into that right out of the gate. So most people start buyer heavy and then later, shift to listings. And we're going to talk more about that as we go to different levels. You'll notice here, buyer lead generation is the biggest slice of the pie. Buyer agent activities is a little bit smaller, and we're going to talk about this. You're starting to get a little bit of help working with those buyers once you have a signed buyer representation agreement. Listing lead generation is still significant. Listing agent activities is exactly the same size because once you get a listing, you're doing everything. No one's helping you fully with that stuff yet. And you'll also notice business planning and development and marketing are about the same size. But here's what's important. They're still decent sized. You're still working on your business a fair amount. When a lot of agents don't hit the next level, it's because those shrink to slivers. They start getting so busy with this stuff, they stop working on the business. Let's go through these one by one. Referrals. Have a tight system and processes to ask for referrals. If you won't, these guys said this today, and it's written in my outline as well. If you won't promote yourself, who will? And how can you expect them to? How can you fairly ask someone to promote you if you're unwilling to do so? Reviews. Place a big focus on building a review arsenal that will help you get more clients. Okay? I've said this story many times over the years, but in this day and age, and when I say this day and age, I probably mean for many years now, maybe a decade, I will not watch a 2-hour movie without reading some reviews, even if the movie's free, even if it's on a streaming platform like Netflix or some other. I know I have my trusted sites that I go to. I know how to look through the reviews. I know how to throw out the fake ones, the one that's really good and unspecific or really bad and seems like malicious. And then I can see everything in between and the pattern of what they're saying. And I can make a good judgment call. And usually, with few exceptions, it's fairly accurate. Now, let me ask you a question. If I'm doing that for a free 2-hour movie, do you think your clients are doing that for you on the largest financial transaction they're ever going to do in their life? Absolutely. Get good at getting reviews. It'll also force you to give better service if every time you're focused on, I'm going to get a good review. Respond to those reviews. I use Zillow and Google. Both of those platforms allow you to respond. There in that response, you can show them your personality. You can show them you cared about them. And be genuine by all means. Don't be fake. But you can share details of the transaction maybe they didn't share that shows you remembered and cared about that situation. You can as future people are reading your reviews, that will serve you well. It'll show you cared about that transaction. Transaction flow. I love this right here. Look about right to you guys. You should be very familiar at this point with the flow of a transaction and have your systems down to a science. Email templates should be saved. You know the best way to save an email template? As you're writing an email and you're going, gosh, I've written this a few times. Put your email in the BCC and copy yourself on that email. And then when you get it at the top of your inbox, clean it up and file it away. And the next time you need that same message to go to a client, and we all know what those messages are, those repetitive same things we're doing and saying, you can grab that template. You absolutely have to make it look authentic and personalized to them. Don't just blindly throw it out. But you save yourself so much time, and the quality of the writing will be best because you'll perfect it a little bit each time. Checklists for various tasks, transaction milestones, process workflows, etc. Not that long ago, you were so excited to simply have a transaction that you didn't care what you had to do after that. You'd freestyle it and were happy to do so. When you were a brand new agent, you can freestyle things. You only have one transaction a lot of times. If you only have one transaction, you're thinking about that transaction every hour of every day. But when you get to this level, you've got a bunch going. You can't freestyle anymore. Leveraging business. Leverage current business to get more business. This is the easiest way to get business, and ironically, what makes it so hard to get into real estate. Consumers want to transact with people who are transacting. Nobody, with the exception of a close friend or family member, ever woke up and said, I want to be someone's first buyer or seller today. Okay? Use that to your advantage as you start to do business. That's the best way to get business. Start creating a portfolio. Your marketing that you use on one listing is not one and done for that listing. You can use it forever moving forward. The videos, the photos, the print collateral. This shows a postcard around a successful listing that you had. You're letting all the neighbors know, hey, someone else in your area that I know about now because I just sold a house here, trusted me. They vetted me and trusted me. Social media, we talked about that. What better way to show your success out there than social media? Open houses for buyers, etc. We are going to talk about this at every level. From this point forward, at every level, I'm going to be talking about using your success to gain more success. Hone in on your niche. There should be a couple areas where you are feeling good about being able to get business. Laser focus on these and constantly be thinking about how you can improve in these areas and strategies. You should also know what areas you've not been successful and avoid them or refer them out to an expert in that field. Database consistency. Stay in touch with your database on a very consistent basis. This will pay off tenfold. Marketing. Remember the pie that's marketing, working on the business? Have a monthly, at a minimum, you could have it twice a month, like I do, marketing meeting, even if only with yourself. Time block appropriately. So here now today, on my team, we have a marketing meeting every other Wednesday from 1 to 3. We don't always need all that time, but we block that time. And so if we get done early, great. We have free time to do something else. Throughout the course of the weeks prior, anytime one of us, and by the way, yes, I have 8 people in that meeting, okay? But I didn't always. 12 years ago, I didn't. Through the course of the weeks prior, as somebody thinks about a marketing idea or something or task or has some thought, we add it to the agenda. Then we get together, we go through the agenda. Now there's recurring items on the agenda that we always talk about. What's going to be our postcard for the next month? What's going to be our promotion for the next month? What's the newsletter going to talk about next month? Etc. Those are recurring. But sometimes there's one-time items that we talk about that we added to the agenda. All of you should do the same, even if that meeting is all by yourself. And by the way, even if you are a solo agent, which is quite possible at this level, there are ways, maybe not every time, but at varying times, to have somebody with you in that meeting. Could it be another agent in your office who you can brainstorm ideas with? As you do your marketing meeting, they do theirs. Could it be a title partner? Could it be a mortgage lender partner? Get creative here, but have that meeting. Work on your business. Stop and work on your business. Vendor relationships. Your relationships with your vendors should be getting much stronger, and you should be sending them enough business at this point to have their attention and priority status as needed. Every real estate agent, whether they want to admit it or not, is growing a team. Even if you are a solo agent, you have a team. On your team is your mortgage lender, your contractor, your title and escrow, your title rep and your escrow officer, your window washer, your carpet cleaner. All those are part of your team. When people hire you, that's what they're hiring. You're bringing that to the table. Take care of those relationships. The first time I ever did this presentation was at OMSI. We did a large education summit there back in April, and I did this presentation. I'm not going to do it here because it was already funny once. I pulled out my phone at this juncture, and I put it on speaker, and I put the microphone up to it. And I called Gordon, my contractor. By the way, Gordon, my contractor, I met him at 460 Boca Raton 12 years ago. I did not hire him. The seller of that house hired him, but I liked him. I liked how we worked together. We since have worked together for 12 years. He's a good friend of mine. I regularly will take him to a Blazer game and buy him dinner and thank him for everything he does for myself and my team. At OMSI, I pulled out my phone. I said, Gordon, quick question for you. I've got a 2,500 square foot house. The buyers just did an inspection. They're asking for a new roof. Approximately, what does that cost? He goes, is it 1 level or 2? I said 2 levels. He goes, probably about, and he asked a couple follow-up questions about the style of roof and stuff. He goes, probably about $17,000. I said, wonderful, Gordon. You just helped 200 people with that question. And I hung up nicely. But anyway, you get my point. My contractor regularly will get repair addendums from me where I ask him to help me figure out how much this is worth. We'll send him inspection reports and I'll go, what the heck does this mean? He oftentimes will go to a house, whether it's a listing or a house a buyer's interested in buying, where he knows he's not going to get any work. And he'll help me itemize and understand what they're asking for, if it's real or if it's not real. Now, of course, for that to work and be sustainable, I have to get them lots of other work where I can, okay? Take care of those vendor relationships. What you should get help with. How can you better leverage your time? Hire as necessary for administrative and marketing tasks, etc. This is a good time to have your kid or a local teenager help drive flyers around and running necessary errands for you here and there to take some things off your plate. Hire the right support. By this point, you should have a transaction coordinator. At our company, all of our office managers are TCs, transaction coordinators. It's very efficient. It's a win-win. It gives our agents someone to use. It also saves the company on an out cost. It's not just dead money there watching each office. Have showing agents or partnered help. We have an app at our company called PPG Connect, where any one of our agents can quickly go in there and put, I've got a home, I need help. So can somebody open the door in Gresham at 4 o'clock today? I'm offering X amount of dollars. And all of a sudden, a bunch of people newer agents usually, of course, can hold their hands up and say, yes, I would love to help with that. You can choose which one you want to have help you through that process. Have a good process for delegating tasks that aren't getting you more business. Other considerations, hire a business coach. This might be a good time to hire a real estate or business coach. Whether you're looking to take your business to the next level or you're looking for ways to increase your income without increasing the demand on your time. Okay, let's go. Next level, 10 to 20 million. We call this our president's circle at our company. Here's a couple things you're going to notice right away. Paperwork is almost non-existent. It's still there. You aren't doing very much of it. In fact, you're probably only doing it when somebody, your go-to person, is unavailable. But it's an absolute sliver. You're hardly doing any paperwork, okay? Notice that listing lead generation has now gotten bigger than buyer lead generation. What's the number one inefficiency in real estate? Travel time. Do you travel less for listings or for buyers? You want to shift to listings. And I can give you 10 other reasons why you want to shift to listings as soon as you can. But that's high on the list. You're still generating buyer leads. The buyer agent activities has really shrunk at this point. You're getting a lot of help once you get that buyer agreement signed. Listing agent activities is still big. At this juncture, once you get the listing contract signed, you're still doing most of the prep. You're still doing most of the taking it live and a lot of the activities, with the exception of paperwork. Business planning and development and marketing haven't really gotten bigger, but they haven't gotten smaller either. And that's what's going to help you get to the next level. Team growth. You should seriously be considering a full-time administrative assistant at this point, if you haven't already. It's not even a bad idea to be thinking about another agent. A lot of it can still be done with outside agents jumping in and helping you, but you're probably close to that point where you need your own person full-time. Utilize the mentorship program for added help. In our company, we have a mentorship program that's a huge win. Win-win. Not just one win, 2 wins. It's a win for the mentee and it's a win for the mentor. We partner them together. Any brand new agent that comes to our company, we require them to do at least 4 transactions with a mentor. Now, the 4 transactions the mentee brings to the table. Obviously, there's a commission shared split there. But beyond that, do you think for a second that mentee doesn't want to run around and do your showings, sit for the first couple hours at your inspections until the walkthrough when you come and sit there? And by the way, here's a pro tip for any of you newer agents in the audience. The best way to learn the inner workings of a house and all the nuances of how they work and what problems exist and what it looks like to fix them is to sit through a home inspection walkthrough and sit through as many as possible those first months and years. You will fast track your knowledge base so quickly and exponentially. So if a mentee is sitting there opening the door of the inspection so the mentor could still be doing other income producing activities, and then the agent comes for the walkthrough, the mentee should ask, can I stick around? I'll just be a fly on the wall. I want to hear what the inspector has to say about this house, its condition, and what it looks like and involves to fix it. Client appreciation. Your database should be a well-oiled machine at this point. You should be doing client appreciation parties and events, taking care of your biggest referral sources. This image right here, this was a movie night that my team and I did here a little while back. We rented a big theater at Bridgeport. I think it seated about 400 people, okay? We invited our entire database. We gave them free entry into the movie. We gave them a gift card for concessions. I want to say it was $25. We had gift baskets that we partnered with our vendors. All of our vendors helped us. Each of them provided 1 basket. And the beauty of this event was we had multiple touch points prior, where in our newsletter and postcards and phone calls, we're inviting all of our past clients to this event. Then, of course, we have the event. The beauty of it was we had this movie theater with 400 people that I could get in front of, very large audience like this. And a clever thing that we did was we used our vendors as a way to brag about ourselves. For example, we'd say, hey, if you've ever listed with us in this room and you loved the beautiful photography that we have, this gift basket was provided by our photographer right here. On and on. If you bought a house with us and you experienced the phenomenal due diligence we helped you do on the house, this is our home inspector. Once the event was over, we had multiple touch points after that, where we could send pictures, videos, images of that event. Even the people who didn't come appreciated that we did this event, and we got touch points on them. My good buddy here, Ty Linke, recently did an event for Christmas. It had Santa Claus and Miss Claus there. We talked about it at that event. It's not just about the event, it's the touch points going in and after the event. Jeff Wyron here does an annual picnic every year, and he talks about this all the time. These are a very efficient way for a busy person like me. Literally, in my case, my team did a lot of the legwork. I just showed up and ceremoniously did a lot of the FaceTime. Invest in your business. You should be starting to spend money. At this juncture in your career, you're making well into 6 figures and are busy, so you should be reinvesting back into your business. Use your dollars like little soldiers that go out and bring back more little soldiers to work for you. That's a Mr. Wonderful quote, by the way. In fact, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank said, money is my military, each dollar a soldier. I never send my money into battle unprepared and undefended. I send it to conquer and take currency prisoner and bring it back to me. Perfectly choreographed systems. Did I tell you guys at every level from this point forward, and every level period, including the first level, I'm going to talk about systems, but I'm going to get more serious about them every level that we elevate to. You absolutely, at this point, need to have choreographed your systems for buyers and sellers. Every touch point. It's worth mentioning. I want to say this. I've said this at other presentations in the past. We only have 2 products in this business. If we were an ice cream shop, we have chocolate and vanilla. Does everyone know what those 2 products are? We work We connect people with a house and we disconnect people with a house. That's it. There's nothing else. So when I'm telling you to create systems, we're not Baskin Robbins 33 flavors or whatever number they have. It's 30 something. Every touch point, every template, every what if at every step of the way should be completely dialed. Good systems, when you are this busy, are essential to smooth transactions, which are essential to continued referrals. People oftentimes in this business, I've seen this many times before, they're good salespeople, but they're bad systems people, okay? That will implode on you. You will be so good at selling that people will come to you and they'll want to work with you. And that'll work for a while. But you're gonna not, I actually have seen, my experience is you don't just plateau, you actually go backwards if you don't start to develop systems. Because at some point, so many people are working with you that you can't take care of them all behind you. You are selling your system. They are coming to you, not just for you, but for your system, and ultimately a team that you're growing that uses that system. There's good teams and there's bad teams. The good teams have systems. The bad teams have a bunch of people running into each other. One doesn't know where the other starts and where the other stops. Systems are the glue that keep it running smoothly. Start those systems even if you're by yourself. It will allow you to grow your team. I want to give you guys an analogy here, an example. Okay. So I mentioned earlier, I'm an avid golfer, okay? There's a book that I really like. It's called Golf is Not a Game of Perfect, okay? And it's all about the mental component of golf, okay? You know, there's a quote that says golf is a game of 6 inches. Mostly the 6 inches between your 2 ears, right? And that's again talking about the mental component of golf. In the book Golf is Not a Game of Perfect, he uses an analogy. He says, hey, if there was a balance beam on this floor, maybe 40 feet long, 4 inches wide, this high, would I be able to walk across it? And the answer is, as long as I haven't had too many cocktails, yes. Okay? Now imagine if that same balance beam is 100 feet in the air with no net. Is it still easy to walk across? What's the difference? It's the mental component. He likens that to golf. He said, you know, the ball is just sitting there. It's not a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. You're just sitting there. Why can't you just hit it straight? A lot of it is the mental component, right? When you're on the driving range by yourself, a lot of times they do go straight. But then when you're out on the course and your friends are with you, or heaven forbid, you're in a tournament of some sort, that's not always as easy. So a lot of the book talks about ways to control the mental component. And what he talks about is routines, which is another way to say systems. You know, have a pre-shot routine where you always do the same thing every time, whether you're on the driving range or you're in the biggest tournament of your life. It's not that different for us. If you have good systems, and part of this is systems of going to a listing appointment. If I go to a $600,000 listing or I go to a $3 million listing, do you think one's more nerve-wracking than the other? Listing appointment, where they're both competing. Your systems and your routine that you fall back into will put you in the zone, calm your nerves, and your muscle memory kicks in and you'll handle it perfectly. One other thing I want to say about this, remain present. Put your phone away. Most of us have seen a documentary about Michael Jordan. It was called The Last Dance. And I say most of us have seen it because it happened in the early days of COVID when there was nothing else to do. There was a lot of great takeaways I had from that movie, but one of my favorites was Michael Jordan talked about this and others also talked about this. They said he was always present. If it was game 6, he wasn't thinking about game 7. If it was a third quarter, he wasn't thinking about the fourth quarter. If he was on defense, he wasn't thinking about the next offensive play. He was always present.
I love that, and I employ that in my business. There are many times where I'm driving to a listing appointment, and I might be on the phone with one team member who's got a challenge they're dealing with that I'm coaching them through. Another team member's texting me that some deal transaction just terminated. I may even get a call, an email from daycare telling me my daughter had an incident at school that day. All that's happening on my drive. But the second I get in front of that house and I turn my car off, I am thinking about that house, those people, their names, their scenario, their timelines, and how we're going to get that listing. And I don't stop that all the way through the appointment. And it serves me well. Proactive communication. Proactive communication is so important that on April 21st of this year at OMSI, we are having another education summit. And for 1 hour, I'm going to talk about nothing but proactive communication. Any of you guys are welcome. It's open to all. Reach out to myself or anyone else from Lawyer's Title or PPG. We'd love to give you more details. Proactive communication, as I'm going to speak about it here today, is mostly about active listings, working with sellers, okay, who have not yet got an offer. Here, the opposite of proactive communication is reactive communication, okay? Proactive communication, plain and simple, is when you say you answer a question before they even ask it, okay? Reactive communication is you wait for them to ask the question and then you answer it, okay? Here's the problems with reactive communication. When they have that question, doubt, concern, frustration, or unhappiness, well, first of all, that's the problem. They had it. You allowed it to occur before you proactively got rid of it. So the first problem is it happens. The second problem with reactive communication is you don't get to pick the time that it happens. So if it's Monday at 3 p.m. or if it's Friday at 8 p.m., you better be available 24/7 so that you can immediately squelch that question, doubt, concern, frustration, or unhappiness quickly, or it sits in them. The other problem with reactive communication is you don't get to pick the medium at which they engage you with it. They might call you, they might text you, they might email you, but you don't get to pick. If they call you, you probably should call them back. You probably shouldn't just hide behind an email or text. I think most of us agree with few exceptions. The other problem with reactive communication is your support staff generally can't help you. Once in a while, maybe they can, but it's not the best look. If somebody reaches out to you with a phone call and your assistant calls them back, well, it might look like you're hiding from it, right? Proactive communication solves all of those problems. By telling your clients, your seller clients upfront, I'm going to proactively get you all the information. I've sold hundreds, maybe thousands of houses. I know what you're going to want to know, and I'm going to, on a regular basis, answer all of your questions before you even ask them, and explain to them how that's going to happen. You get to pick the time it happens, the proactive communication. They never have that question, doubt, concern, frustration, and unhappiness in the first place. You get to pick when it happens. You get to pick the medium by which it happens, and you can have support staff help you. Let's get really specific. Every one of my active listings gets a marketing report like this every week. It's branded to us. It has beautiful house pictures of the house, information about the seller. It shows all the showings we had that week. It shows the feedback from the agent that we diligently followed up with. It shows if there's further interest or not. It shows various other marketing activities we did. How many people came to the open house? What's the view count on the various search sites? Hey, David, something popped up. Oh, there we go. You did a good job of getting rid of it. One of my administrative assistants is able to put this together for me. I approve it, and it goes out from my email to my sellers, squelching all of their questions, doubts, concerns, frustrations, and unhappinesses before they ever occur, thereby saving me all that extra time so I can go get other business. Increase leverage and efficiencies. You should be really learning leverage and understanding efficiencies across every avenue of your business. Things that got you business in the early days, putting flyers on doors around open houses, for example, will be areas you can still utilize without using your own time to do so. Focus on what's most efficient and on actively landing more business. Hire and delegate the rest. Okay, what you should get help with. Showings. Always show up for the first time client meeting, which this has changed in the last couple years because now we do have to get buyer representation agreements. So you need to show up and win their business, whether that's in your office, on the phone consultation, whatever the case, right? Then stretch yourself with help across the showings. And in this case, that can be a full-time agent on your team. That is absolutely understandable. Let me give you guys a really good way to sell this to people. Mr. Buyer, when you work with me, I guarantee you there will never be a time that you want to see a house that I can't accommodate. As long as the seller is able to accommodate, I will always be able to accommodate. If you want to see a house at Tuesday at 4 p.m., done. You want to see a house Sunday at 7 p.m., done. The way I'm able to accomplish this is if I'm not available, one of my team members, and if you're a solo agent, you could say an agent in my network will ensure that you always get into that house. By doing that, you're setting up the groundwork. In addition to that sounding pretty darn good working with you, you're setting up the groundwork that you're not going to show all the houses they're not going to like. There's a joke on our team that a buyer has to kiss a lot of frogs before they find their prince, right? Don't be there for all the frogs. Just go to the prince. And this is not a hard, fast rule. Use your judgment, discernment, obviously. It might make sense to go to some of the early showings and then get some help in between. One thing you can always assure them of is when you do find a house that's going to work for you, the agent that lets you in will quickly make me aware of it. I'll be reaching out to you and we'll be setting up a second showing as fast as you're able to get back there so that I can see it, I can advise you on it, and we can talk next steps. Pick and choose which clients to show homes. And again, this is not a hard, fast rule. If it's a VIP client, be more involved. If it's not a VIP client, be less involved. Hire someone to help with the first few hours of inspections, then show up at the end when it's important for you to be there for the final walkthrough. Other considerations. You should be focusing heavily on listings. You should be listing heavy with as much of your focus on getting more listings. Allow buyers to become more of a byproduct. In your earlier years, focus is more on buyers, but you should be pivoting by now to focusing more on listings. Okay, we're getting to big boy and big girl numbers. 20 to 50 million, okay? Let's notice a few things here. Paperwork is gone. At this point, there should be multiple people on your team that can do paperwork, and you have a team now, okay? So if your TC is not available, your TC, by the way, and we'll talk about that here in a second, you should have agents that can jump into the paperwork. With few exceptions, I have not written an addendum in years. I don't even know how to log into zip forms, okay? Notice how big listing lead generation is. It's massive. It's over a third the size of your time. Buyer lead generation has gotten smaller. Still there, but it's gotten smaller. Buyer agent activities is really getting small. Listing agent activities is getting smaller. You now have help once you get the listing contract signed. Look what just got bigger though. Because you now have a team, it's imperative that you're working on the business more. Business planning and development and marketing have gotten bigger. Let's start going through what you should be focused on. Your brand. Dial it in and perfect it. Prior to this point, it would be understandable for you to have relied more heavily on your company's brand. Now you should be working on your brand. You're doing enough business, that's important. Grow your team. You are now starting to build a team. Prior to this point, you were mostly a salesperson, and a darn good one, or you wouldn't be here. But now you need to start focusing on being a good CEO. Designated office. You should probably have an office. Teams are hard to run remotely, though not impossible. I'm not saying they're impossible, but it is much more challenging. It's much more effective to be able to get your team together in the same space to strategize, coach, plan, store shared items. When you're working remotely, this person has this lockbox, it's in this person, you're at your house. It's a logistical nightmare. Hyper focus on listings. You definitely should not be working with very many buyers. Your team can, but your focus needs to be on listings and sellers. Delegate the vast majority of buyer activities to agents you've hired and buyer prospecting it for that matter. Talented co-list. Get serious about having help on your listings. Every one of your listings should have a co-list. You should have a co-agent at this point who's taking preliminary questions, booking showings, measuring rooms, writing feature sheets, descriptions, loading the MLS, going over seller's disclosures, and so much more, so that you can focus on getting listings. Remember how big that pie was? The only way that pie gets bigger is if something else shrinks. Don't be afraid to delegate the lower level tasks so your focus is on getting the listings. ISA support. At this point, it's even advisable that you have inside sales support from a team member. Someone who can jump on the phone and help with sign calls, other miscellaneous inquiries and leads, so not everything has to go through you. Remember I said we did a Washington summit a few months ago? As I was getting ready to go on the stage, my phone was forwarded to one of my right-hand team members. A great listing lead came in. I went onto the stage and I was able to tell the audience that without my involvement at all, they looked at my calendar, someone had a great conversation with that seller, took them off the street is what we call it, so that they're not running around calling one of you guys, and booked an appointment for me and put them in a holding pattern so later, next day or whatever the case, I could reach out to them, solidify things, and prep them for the appointment. That's inside sales support. Casey, have we had any listing leads come in since we've been here? That was a cool story at that summit. Successful buyer division. There should be regular buyers you never meet with and close successfully without your direct involvement. You can and should be involved, hyper involved, yet you don't necessarily have to meet face-to-face or ever show them a house. You could have done a consultation up front. You could call them when their offer is accepted. You could text them when their offer is accepted. A great way on my team we do this is at key moments of every transaction, the co-agent group texts the client and congratulates them for their accepted offer, congratulates them that we just got past the repair negotiations, congratulates them that the appraisal came back and value's fine. Of course, then when it's closing, we're calling them and I'm personally thanking them for our business and telling them how excited we were to work with them. You can be involved, but you never had to get in your car and drive nor meet them. And so that business is coming in and creating revenue for the team without your involvement, without your face-to-face involvement. 20 to 50 million, what should you get help with? All buyer side activities. Added listing support, delivering flyers, signs to listings, directionals, as many of the less meaningful direct with seller tasks as possible should be delegated. Inside sales support, full-time transaction support, in-house. You should have your own transaction coordinator. I'm one of the partners at Premier Property Group. I'm telling you this, it's not to my benefit to tell you this because we have TCs for the company, but I'm being real with you. At this level, you should not be using a contract TC. You are busy enough, you should have your own person that you use and only you use, that's available to you, works only for you, and you can build systems with where those gears perfectly mesh together. Other considerations. The ladder of success is never crowded at the top. That's a great quote by Napoleon Hill. He is incidentally an author of one of my favorite business books. It's called Think and Grow Rich. Your success at this point is why people are using you. Use this to your advantage. You are a top agent. You should be talking about it. Your success should lead to more success. Before, you'd have to articulate in 1,000 words why they should use you. Your success should be speaking for itself at this point. you've already proven yourself hundreds of times over. I'm going to give you a quick story about this, okay? So about 4 or 5 years ago, overnight, I suddenly found myself without a photographer. I'd had the same one photographer for many years prior. And the relationship got a little strained in the months prior, and then it kind of came to a head, and we just decided to part ways overnight. Simultaneously, at the same time, in addition to all the other listings I had going, I also had a $3.5 million listing in Camas that we were getting ready to onboard, and I had a $5 million listing in Northwest Portland that we were getting ready to bring on. Needless to say, this was stressful to not have a photographer and have all of that going on. There was no greater priority I had than to find a photographer. So I spent a bunch of time, did a bunch of research, came up with a bunch of list of questions, and I had some warm prospects that I was going to call and start interviewing. And I was ready to spend an hour on the phone with each one. I was going to ask them questions about, their editing process, their twilight photo shoots, their bracketing, and all those, all these great questions, so I could make the best decision to pick a new photographer to work with. One of the individuals I called, and I'm going to say a name here that you're all going to recognize. And I thought about not saying this name, but this story is not as impactful if I don't. And he's a great guy. I have a great professional working relationship with this person. In fact, if I called him right now, he'd probably go, yo. So in the first 5 minutes of talking with this photographer, without name dropping, in a very subtle, matter-of-fact way, as we're kind of talking about his business, he goes, I shoot all the photos, or most of them, for Justin Harnish. And I remember thinking to myself, that should work. I think that should do the trick. I had hundreds of other questions I was ready to ask, and I asked a few more of them, but he built his credibility so quickly and so effectively and so efficiently. Till this day, that is my photographer, by the way. And I'm sure if any of you called him, he'd probably say I shoot most of the photos for Steve Nassar too. Here's my point. I learned something from this. I realized, do I want to say in 1,000 words why you should work with me, or are there more efficient and effective, powerful ways to get business? For example, and here's how I've utilized a strategy like this. Now, when I'm at a listing appointment, built into my listing presentation on a higher end listing, I share with them that a few years back, I sold a house on Lake Oswego that was owned by Phil Knight of Nike. I also share with them that a couple years ago, we listed the horse property of the CEO of Daimler Trucks. Okay? There are powerful ways to use your success to work for you. You should start looking for opportunities. I'm moving on from that. You should start looking for opportunities within the luxury market and utilizing programs like the Luxury Mentorship Program to help you refine those skill sets. That's a program we have at our company where any of our agents are able to partner with a luxury mentor. I'm one of many, where they can reach out to us when they have a high-end property opportunity. Not only will we go with them to the property to help them get the listing, but we will then teach them everything we know, all the nuances of what they should be doing when listing a high-end property. Okay, last category, last production level. This is the closest pie chart you are going to see, and it's pretty darn close, by the way, to what my day looks like today. My time looks like now. Notice how big these have gotten. I have 25 people on my team. It's very important that I'm working on the business, keeping those 24 other people moving and doing the right things. However, you'll also notice that listing lead generation is still about 1/3 of my time. I go to the vast majority of my listing appointments. Buyer lead generation is still there, but it's smaller, and it's selective. Buyer agent activities is a sliver, and I'll tell you, it's very ceremonious. Okay, I ceremoniously work with buyers, and what I mean by that I rarely ever go by myself. Oftentimes, if we have a VIP client, whether it's a high price point or they're buying and selling and they need to buy first or whatever the case, if it's determined that I should go, I will have one of my team members with me. They'll schedule everything. They'll show up first. I rarely use my lockbox key, by the way. They'll show up first. They'll open the lockbox. They'll turn everything on. And then I show up and ceremoniously we'll shake their hands, tell them how excited we're to work with them. A lot of times I'll look at that house with them. We'll talk a little bit about the house. And then oftentimes, and sometimes this is prepped in advance, sometimes it's not. It just depends. Oftentimes I'll say I have another appointment I'm going to jump out to, but you're in the best of hands with whoever they're with. And then I'll be checking in with you later. That's the extent of my buyer agent activities. Listing agent activities is not usually for most of my listing appointments. I either go once if it's a lower price point, and oftentimes twice if it's a higher price point. Now, that is not to say, and this is important, they need me there 10 times, I'll be there 10 times. But my system is so dialed and my team is so dialed that they usually hardly notice that everything is going so smooth that they don't need me, okay? A lot of times what I'll do is I'll go to the initial listing appointment on a higher end listing, and then I'm going back to do a warm handoff to one of my team members. We're meeting our interior designer there, our professional organizer there, and we've got our checklist. We're ready to start the prep process. Let's go through the things you should be focusing on. You are no longer just playing an instrument. You are now the conductor of the orchestra. Does anyone know why you're a great conductor of the orchestra? Because you've played every instrument. So you're able to advise people and see and know how they should be doing things. You are focused almost entirely on CEO-related activities. Most everything else should be delegated. You're still going to listing appointments, but proactive communication and oversight should be your main focus now, as you've delegated everything else. You should have a team at this point that is closing out your listings and handling most everything buyer-related. Work on, not in your business. I'm just going to say that. I think I nailed that earlier when I showed you the size of the pie charts. Luxury price points. You should start thinking about luxury price points. I was almost exactly at 50 million when I started realizing I needed to do higher end properties. I think it was about 7 or 8 years ago. And I'm going to tell you some stories about that here in a second. But it was right around here. I was at around 50, 60 million. While you may have dabbled with high-end properties before, by now you should be leaning heavily into this and solidifying your place as a luxury specialist. Great preparation of listings, followed by the best and most comprehensive, intelligent marketing packages will win in the end. Start building a portfolio of that. Start building a body of work. Again, I said this earlier, I'm going to repeat it. It is a mistake to think when you order photos and videos for a listing that you're just creating them for that listing. Build a body of work, build a portfolio that you can showcase in a creative fashion to any future client that you're going to work with. You'll start to realize if you think you're spending $200 for photos for that listing that's going to make you X dollars, yeah, it sounds expensive. If you think you're spending $2,000 for those photos that you're going to use for the next 10 years of your career, it doesn't seem as expensive. One of the reasons you should be focusing on luxury price points at this level in your business, if you want to continue going up to higher levels, is the efficiency. What takes more effort and energy, selling $400,000 or $500,000 houses or a $2 million house? I'm not asking what's going to sell faster. That's a different question. What takes more effort and energy? Think about the drive time to 4 different houses versus 1. It's more efficient to work in the higher end. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you know how you get a $2 million listing? You do a damn good job on a $1.5 million listing. Do you know how you get a $1.5 million listing? I bet you guys are going to guess this one. You do a damn good job on a $1 million listing. It reminds me, I've seen this over the years. It reminds me of somebody, think outside of real estate in general, okay? Just think of a paid salaried employee at any job out there, anywhere up and down the street. somebody gets a $60,000 a year job and they go, I got this $60,000 a year job. I feel like I'm worth $100,000 a year. Tell you, you know, if I got that $100,000 a year job, I would show up early every day. I'd stay late every day. I'd work through lunch. I'd work my tail off. I'd do such a great job. Do you think that person ever gets a $100,000 a year job? Now think of this person. They get a $60,000 a year job and they treat it like a $100,000 a year job. You know what's going to happen with that person? Either they're going to get a promotion there or somebody else is going to notice them. And whether someone gives them an $80,000 a year job and they do the same thing there and later get a $100,000 a year job, or they skip levels, whichever the case, they're going to get where they want to go. It's not that different for us. I see people in this business all the time that think the same thing about when they're going to get that $2 million listing. If I ever had a $2 million listing, oh boy, I'd bring it. I would spend money on the photos. I'd do this. I would stage it. I would do all these things. What should you be doing at the lower price points if you want to get there? That's what'll help you get there. Okay, high-level strategies for new business. Another huge part of your focus should be high-level strategies for new business. You should be using your revenue as an asset many of your competitors don't have. Outspend them on proven marketing strategies. Identify and then double down on expenditures that are working. I'm going to give you guys a quick story about this. And this story is going to tell you two things about my last 12 years. It's going to tell you how I got into the high-end market, one of the ways I got into the high-end market. And it's also going to tell you about doubling down on expenditures that are working. So about 7 or 8 years ago, I was at about this production level, 50 million, 60 million. I decided I took my own advice that I'm giving you today. I decided I need to get into the high-end market. There was an array of things I was doing, okay? So I do not want anyone's takeaway to be this was the silver bullet that did it, okay? And that it did it overnight. Do not take that from the story. But one of the things I did was I committed that every issue of Luxury Home Magazine, I was going to have a presence. And I started with 3 pages. And I'm sure every one of you has probably seen this ad. I'd be surprised if you have. And on page 1, it was going to talk about me and my bio, resume, whatever you want to call it. And then the rest was going to talk about my high-end listings. It was fortunate at the time, I did have a few high-end listings. And that was part of the timing of it. I realized this is my opportunity. Rather than letting these high-end listings come and go like I'd done in the past, I was going to lean into these and I was going to showcase them. And I was going to take out this ad, and I committed that I was going to continue that issue after issue after issue. And by the way, there were times in the months prior, in the years, you know, those early months and years where I wasn't sure what I was going to put in that ad. But that in of itself helped me because I was always focused on what am I going to put in my next ad? What does that do? It makes you laser focus on the higher end market. And I was looking at all the strategies and all the things that were going to help me do high end so I could fill my darn ad. And there were other times, of course, where I was creative and I put things that I'd recently sold and so on and so forth. A couple years later, and that's an important part of this story. This is not an overnight story. By the way, I would take that ad anytime I had a high-end listing opportunity. There was other value in that ad. I would take that ad with me and I'd show you, look, here's where I'll put your house in this high dollar publication. But couple years go by and I get a call from the ad. My first call ever, 2 years later. And it was a house in Vernonia. It's $1 million. You know what $1 million in Vernonia looks like? True. And they had been listed with another agent. I interviewed, I got the listing and we sold it. It's on Cherry Street. Not that long later, I got another call from Luxury Home Magazine. So over time, that branding repetition had worked. I got another call. And this time it was out in Sandy. And this was a beautiful house. I loved that house. Swimming pool, gorgeous mountain views. I got that listing. And actually, incidentally, it was listed prior and with someone unsuccessful. And I got the listing and I sold it. Guess what I did after that? I took out a 5-page ad. And we noticed we got a few more phone calls. and then a 7-page ad. There's times we've had 11 pages in that magazine. $15,000 per issue. Casey, how often do we get a lead from Luxury Home Magazine? During the peak season. Somewhere around weekly. That is
They didn't call in, but we do have a lead, a luxury lead that came in since you started this morning in Hillsborough with views, absolutely gorgeous.
email. Okay, your job's safe. That story tells you two things though. Doubling down on expenditures that are working. And also that was a story about how breaking into the high-end market. Identify a team manager. Casey, speaking of which, start to groom a team manager. Have a trusted agent who can help run the team in your absence or when you're busy. Recruitment. At this point, you should have good systems and processes in place for finding, interviewing, and onboarding new agents and support staff. When you're running a business at my level, or at this level, I should say, at this level, and if you're continuing to go up through the ranks in levels, you are frequently hiring new people. I would say a couple a year. Support staff, agents. You need to get good at hiring people and onboarding them. You need to have tight systems where quickly you do boom, 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 business card, email signature, everything you need to do to onboard an agent. So it's an efficient, quick process. It's not clunky. Training them. We've built in a system where they have a mentor on the team that trains them for a year and gets a piece of everything they do. You also need to have systems for offboarding somebody on your team, which by the way is the same system, it's just backwards. When somebody leaves your team, retire, last year 2 of our agents left the area entirely. They moved out of state. We have to offboard them. Have good systems for that. Successful listing division. There should be a listing coming in that you never have to go to or never need to go to. They will be successfully onboarded and closed without you ever going there. Again, like the buyers, that's not to say you're not involved or in communication with a seller at key touch points. The general rule of thumb on my team is when one of my team members has a sphere listing, somebody that came from them, my first question is, are you competing? If they're competing, I go. If they're not competing, hey, let's save my time so I can go to the other places where we are competing. Email support and efficiency. Someone should be in your emails and there should be a system of moving ones you need to see into a special folder that is the only place you look, thereby saving you from hundreds of unimportant emails. Clients are also getting almost immediate responses. I'm sure we've responded to that client since I've been up here, haven't we? Phone support and efficiency. Help with phone calls at this point is also valuable. Forwarding your phone during appointments, off hours, or at all times, in my case, can be effective. This makes more time for the important calls. Do you know how many unimportant calls come into my line? Random this, that, selling that, quick question about this. Agent has a question about this, but they didn't see that they should go to the co-agent. They're calls that happen, but they don't need me. And I'm able, by saving me not having to do that, I'm able to jump on that call or that email and call those people quickly. What you should get help with, we are almost done, I promise you. Be out of the day-to-day. You should be out of the day-to-day with everything except for high-level business and marketing strategies and securing listings. Other considerations. You are the coach now, okay? Oftentimes, over the years, I've come across, and by the way, I've coached many times in my career, okay? And I'm a believer in coaching, so this is no way poo-pooing that. But I've come across coaches, and a lot of times I've asked them, I'll say, hey, you're really good at real estate. You know what you're doing. Why don't you sell real estate? And inevitably, they'll say something along the lines of, I get fulfillment and enjoyment and satisfaction out of helping others with their business. Let me just tell you that at my level, running a team, I get to do that with all of my agents while running a successful real estate business. And I get that same satisfaction and fulfillment. So it is very rewarding to run a team and be coaching your team members. Looking for more. I may have mentioned this, I forget if I did. At our company, we have a production-based mastermind quarterly, open to the public. It's at one of our offices. Any of you are welcome. We encourage you to come. 0 to 6 million, Greg Whistler, 6 to 10 million, Cheryl Fong, and Jeff Wyron and I are involved in anyone in those two categories. Thank you. That guy doesn't get carded for beers anymore.
Hey, we've got some questions, and we'll open it up as well. What are your thoughts on cold calling for as a primary form of lead gen for any level agent?
It's a rite of passage. When you're newer, you should do it. As soon as you can stop doing it, stop doing it. If you want to run a successful real estate team with low turnover, which is a good way to be successful, don't do it. The teams where everybody's cold calling all the time have the highest turnover rates. Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, I want to go cold call a bunch of people. And I shouldn't be so definitive. There might be a few, but rarely is that the case. So to have longevity, which I think is the most important quality in a team member, you shouldn't have your team cold calling. You should build a business with a leads where you engage with warmer leads. I'll leave it at that. Even if that's paid leads, We did Zillow for many, many years. We don't do it today. We got away from that too, thankfully. But that's not cold calling. That's a warm lead.
What do you recommend for someone to be able to master interviewing for listings if they don't have a lot of natural ability to sell? So how do you master interviewing with no natural ability to sell?
I want to be sensitive here. There's a reason why I'm not in the NBA. And I don't know if that was sensitive or not. No, but I mean, you either got to get good at it or you might be in the wrong business. I don't know a nicer way to say that.
Honestly, that's not a bad point. You're probably going to shine. You're going to find your sweet spot in a support role.
Yeah, absolutely.
So find a rock star and support them, and you'll kill it.
Absolutely.
You'll probably make more than you ever would.
Thank you, Greg. Dana Emery. Well, yeah. Or join a team. Dana Emery, in the context of that, she joined my team and she stayed with me until she retired. And she thanked me every day that she never had to go interview anymore. I would go get the listing and I'd say, Dana, this one's yours. I got the listing contract signed. You know what to do. And that might be where you need to be in this business. I mean, again, I don't know what the level of, and I don't know what that person's level. I mean, I think anyone can improve a couple notches. You know, you're not going to take someone that's, on a scale of 1 to 10, from a 1 to a 10. You might be able to go to, from 4 to 6. And so you can practice, you can get somewhat better, but there is a natural component to that.
That's all we had. Who do we have? What? Yeah.
Great question.
The question was, when you're at a listing appointment, how long are you there with the seller? How much time are you spending there?
1 hour to 2 hours. And it depends on the house. It depends on the size of the house. If it's property, definitely 2 hours. Or if it's a large house. It depends a little bit on how much. One thing I'll share with you guys. I learned a long time ago, even if I don't think I'm competing. By the way, that's never a productive question. I learned that a long time ago. Now, when we're working with a buyer, it is productive, obviously. Well, it's changed so much with buyer list representation agreements. Of course, you'd know if they're with, forget the buyer part. But with sellers, it's never been a productive question to go, are you interviewing other agents? I don't find that to be a productive question. In fact, it's probably a bad question. However, a lot of times they volunteer. Yes, we're meeting with several agents, okay? I learned a long time ago that even if they don't say that, I still do my full presentation. Because I've left appointments where I kind of skipped over some stuff. And then they later tell me, yeah, we're meeting with 2 other agents. I'm like, darn it, why didn't I do my full presentation? And so I will not do that anymore, okay? So, but it does depend a little bit on their dynamic and if they're a past client and I'm a lock, maybe it's going to go faster, but it also depends a little bit on the house. But I would say 1 to 2 hours.
Anybody else have questions? As a reminder too, we've had tons of requests for the slide deck. So the slide deck, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, will be sent out to all attendees on Zoom and in person.
We also have the video.
Mhm.
So if you, in the future, I know this was a fire hose, okay? In the future, you want to have the video to reference, or you know someone that's not here that you think could benefit from it, please reach out to me or anyone else at our company, or Lawyer's Title, and we would gladly get the video. How soon do you think it'll be available? Is it immediate, David? Close. Okay,
Okay,
thank you. But if
Crystal,
you're
you
not
have a
from
question?
PCG,
Go there and do one, or do you come back and then on later?
one, yeah. Yeah.
So for listing appointments,
One
do you come
step
back
listing
or do you kind of knock it out
Yep.
all in one? And
Yep.
he does one.
Yeah, I go, I tour the house. That I always greet him at the door. I ask him if I should take my shoes off. If there are certain ethnicities that I don't even ask, I immediately take them off. I then say, let's do the grand tour. But I'd like to set my computer case down somewhere where we'll reconvene, whether it's a table or island or something. We do the grand tour. We come back to the table. I pull out my computer. We immediately start going through the comps that I prepped in advance. Now, I didn't know exactly how the house was going to be, so I have a pretty good swath of comps, and I'm skipping through to the ones, trying to bracket which ones their house is most like. If this house is a little bit better and this house is a little inferior, then I realize my range is in here. Then once we've kind of talked through the comps and I've kind of agreed on where it falls as far as price, then I move to my listing presentation. I have a beautiful brochure that we've recently made available we are going to make available in February to all of our agents, a beautiful seller guide where I go through all that I will do in order to market their house. Page by page. I have my computer open, so as I'm talking about photos and videos, I'm showing them on my computer as well. So my print piece works and coincides with the digital assets that I have on my computer. And then I usually wrap up and ask them what questions they have. I find it more efficient. I see a lot of my competitors do a two-step approach. I think most of them are just trying to get more face time with them. But I just don't find that to be productive. And I think it's more impactful. I think they respect the fact that I'm good at what I can do. I can do it right there on the spot. And it's better for my time too, to not have to drive there twice.
Deb?
Urban to actually pull it in and say, I want the business.
So she's asking about the close, the kill. She said you've shown him the comps, you've gone through your full presentation. What do you say after? What's your next
Funny you
step?
ask that. Usually after I've done my presentation, and it's pretty comprehensive, I wrap up by saying, so are you impressed yet? Jokingly, remember, keeping it lighthearted. And usually they say, yes, Steve, we're quite impressed. I say, good. Where do we go from here? When should I follow up with you? I rarely try to close them there. I don't think that's productive. I don't think people want that. I don't have the contract ready for them to sign in with pen. I know some old school people swear by that. That's not my approach. Most people need some time to mull it over, especially if there's a husband and wife. Now, once in a while, they'll say, we're ready to use you right then and there, but I don't push them for that. I'm asking, when should I follow up with you? And then they're telling me and I'm following up with them.
How would you, this is another one that came in through text. How would you recommend 0 to 6 month agents to generate warm leads, assuming a $5,000 a month budget?
It's a big budget. I said not to do that in my presentation. You should not practice closing leads on expensive leads when you're brand new. That's just not good. You should build up your presentation, build up your routine, build up your muscle memory on free leads, on cheaper leads. Or maybe turn that up slowly. I mean, at the very least, spend $500 a month.
Opens, yeah.
And then if you start to have success with 500, double down on it, go to 1,000, then go up from there. I mean, that's probably a better question for someone like Brittany or Ty who's doing Zillow. I haven't done Zillow in a few years. I did build my business around Zillow. I just didn't like the power I gave them. they were always moving the goalposts, always moving the goalposts. As soon as we'd get in a rhythm and we knew what we were doing, they'd make some change to their platform or how leads are processed or sent out that suddenly sent shockwaves across my team. And so as soon as I could get away from that and control my own universe, I wanted to do that. But I understand a newer agent needing to do that. And I did have a lot of success with Zillow in those days. I don't know if it's the same today. I mean, I think a lot of people are doing it, or one of those paid lead sources. But be careful. Don't throw your money out the window going 70 miles an hour.
We've got one back here.
Agents that you're bringing on your team and you want them to mesh well with the way that you run your business? And secondly, what do you do for yourself to keep you top of the game? So that might be like, what's your morning routine? What do you listen to?
I have devoured audibles over the years. Remember, the most inefficient thing in our business is drive time. If you're not on the phone with a client, you should be consuming a great podcast, audibles, business books. There's literally dozens and dozens and hundreds I've listened to over the years. As far as a newer agent, I don't force them to read anything. We did have a book club on my team for a while. We've kind of been away from it for a little while, but for a couple of years, we had a book club where we all would pick a book to read, and there was some great business books, and then we would all read it individually and get together in our office and have some beers and snacks, once a month to go over a set number of chapters. And I thought that was really productive. Yeah. Think and Grow Rich, I talked about. Good to Great is a great business book. Atomic Habits was a book that I showed here. That's a systems book. Habits are systems. Anything you do repetitively is a system. So Atomic Habits is a great systems book.
Think Big, Act Small is one of your
Think
favorites.
Big, Act Small. And he had another book that, The Compound Effect is a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
Great question.
What's the one best thing you do to keep your mental health and sanity in check? Who told this guy that Steve is healthy or sane? That's what I want to know. And let me introduce you
Play
to him
golf.
after this.
Play golf. Have a team manager. Have someone, if you have people, I think people would be surprised to know this. The craziest, most insanely busy I've ever been in my 12 years in this business was the summer of 2012, when I was all by myself, doing all the paperwork, going to every showing, doing all the prospecting. The best quality I've ever had is in 2025, where all my emails are going to someone who's seeing them before me. All my phone calls are going to someone who's fielding them and then pulling me in on the important ones. And I'm able to be more proactive. So I think you'd be surprised by that. I sometimes hear that people say, I don't want Steve, I want my life simple. I want my quality of life. I don't want to have a team. I think that you'd be surprised at the quality of life you actually have if you have a well-run team. I've also seen a lot of bad teams, and usually systems is the missing piece. Or bad team members.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. I'll turn it over to Denise. And Lisa, did you want to speak for a minute about how to get this if you're not a PPG agent, or did I lose her? We might have lost.
Just reach
there
out
you
to
are.
anybody, including myself. Just Google me.
And we'll get
my
it.
website
Okay.
has my email, reach steve@nassarteam.com, or any other agent from PPG. We were happy to get it to you. Lawyer's Title can probably get it to you too, as well.
Awesome.
Thank
Well,
you, everyone. This
Steve.
was so fun.
Well, thank you so much, Steve. How powerful was that? Who's got a fire burning in their belly? Yeah, so good. So good. Listen, don't forget, right? You've got your business partners at Lawyer's Title that can help you execute at a high level. Let us help you. Steve, that was incredible. Absolutely amazing. I do want you to know, Joe texted me after you asked earlier. He is on and he said he is killing it and amazing. So I wanted to share that with you as well. Thank you all very, very much for coming. There are sandwiches in the back. I will say that Michael and Connor and Steve are all staying for any questions or any conversation you would like to have over a sandwich, okay? Thank you all very, very much. Have an amazing day.